Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, People in Another World. Reincarnated Dragon, Call Me Godzilla. Chapter 61. In a blink of an eye, time flies. 2 months later. In a cave full of magical power, a black, young dragon, with a body length of nearly 30 meters slowly opened his eyes. His bright golden vertical pupils scanned the surroundings. He slowly stood upright from the cave body. Boom, boom. The sound of heavy footsteps made the underground water pool ripple. The flow of magic power. Brother Reese closed his eyes, raised his neck slightly, and clearly perceived the magic power mixed in the air. Like countless faintly visible threads, the magical breath of the blue dragon mentor appeared in front of him. Is it here? Whispering under his breath, Reese stepped forward. After crossing an underground lake, Brother Reese looked at the big blue dragon mentor standing in front of a huge magic crystal. She sat on the ground without saying a word. Teacher, after passing the trial of the magic trap, you haven't given me any new training until now. Breathing the abundant magic in the cave air, Reese turned his head to look at the huge blue dragon beside him. In the past few days, he has been meditating in the cave, except for the high-intensity combat practice with the water dragon Wen Shani, and he is allowed to sleep after squeezing out the magic power every day. No, the trial here is over. I will teach you the strongest secret technique of the blue dragon family later, and then you can go to the old rock dragon to Nick. However, to Reese's surprise, Norsandna did not give a training plan for the future. She shook her head slightly and said so. Tutor. Brother Reese froze for a moment, not knowing how to speak. Did you know, in order to maintain a certain level of magic power, many young magic dragons spend most of their time using magic crystals to temper themselves before growing into young dragons, to isolate the magic impurities from the outside world. Their growth process is not easy at all. The great blue dragon Norsandna turned to her elder brother Reese and asked, So, in your eyes, what kind of existence is the blue dragon family? A blue dragon. Brother Reese lowered his head to think for a moment, and replied, In my opinion, blue dragons have affinity for any form of water and ice elements. Compared with other dragon species, blue dragons are more slender and dignified, and their eyes are shining with wisdom. Light. Inheritance memory tells me that generally blue dragons like to spend time alone to meditate on the mysteries of the worlds, and some like to study the existence of other species. In addition to being fascinated by magic, blue dragons are also interested in studying various disciplines. They are scholars among dragons, and they generally like to build their lairs on the snowy peaks of mountains or underwater caves beside glaciers. Experiment by myself open corner bracket. Blue dragon is a large branch of dragon species, of which blue dragon is the most basic race. And this race has many subspecies and derivatives, as well as superior individuals. The classification of dragons may include blue dragon, ice dragon, frost dragon, dark ice dragon, true ice dragon, extreme ice dragon, water dragon, sea dragon, giant sea dragon, brilliant sea dragon, and so on. Except for the blue dragon, which is the main category above, the other dragons belong to the derived subspecies, or mutant individuals. To put it bluntly, most of the high-ranking dragon species are mutations from the low-ranking dragon species. Within a large category of branches, it is easy to find relatives who are connected by blood. Perhaps their habits and personalities have completely changed, but there is still a certain blood in their blood, a gene. The same goes for other dragon species, including red dragons. You're right. The big blue dragon Norsandna nodded with a smile, and continued, as the textbook says, most blue dragons are like this. However, inherited memories are always inherited memories, and that's just the stereotype of dragons, that's all. Every giant dragon passed down from generation to generation has different inherited memories. I don't know what kind of inherited memories your ancestors left you, but I'm sure that there is no kind of giant dragon whose knowledge can match comparable to the blue dragon. Speaking of this, the big blue dragon instructor looked at his brother Reese, and said with a serious expression, Blue dragon, there are two quite obvious main characteristics. First, the king of wisdom and the king of magic. Second, the craftsman among the dragons scholar. When the blue dragon Norsandna said this, she spit out the devil's wind on her scales. The next moment, Brother Reese's eyes widened. He was shocked to find that countless magic runes had been activated on the scales of the blue dragon Norsandna. Each of her dragon scales had an independent magic rune. Various attributes, including attack, defense, function, convenience, movement, and so on. There are those that dodge, those that increase skill haste, those that gather magic power, some that reduce one's own weight, and even those that store objects. Blue dragons are famous for using a large number of magical runes for various purposes. To humans, these runes are like tattoos, but all kinds of magic can be attached to the runes. A blue dragon's lair usually also has a large number of rune marks, and only she and her friends know the purpose of these runes. Quote, as the blue dragon Norsandna said, the dragon claws disappeared in the void. To be precise, they protruded into a different dimensional space, and then took out treasures she had collected. Space storage. Compared to other giant dragons who hide their treasures in the dragon's lair, the blue dragon prefers to carry them with them. In addition, there are many defensive magic circles on the scales that can be triggered in emergencies. An experienced old blue dragon, even in close combat, they are worthy of adult warrior dragons, because they usually score all the places on their bodies that can be written with runes. Hearing this, Brother Reese was dumbfounded. He seemed to envy this convenient ability. Activate portals, space packages, dragon-scale autonomous defense systems, magic words at any time. In other words, only blue dragons, or other anthropologists who are familiar with their rune systems, can decipher or interpret these complex magics. Backquote, Master, can I have this ability? No, your strength is only suitable for using attack magic. This kind of meticulous magic power control is too reluctant for you. Even if you study hard, it is far inferior to the blue dragon with the least talent. The blue dragon Norsandra shook her head and said, but seeing her brother Reese disappointed eyes, she said afterwards. However, what I want to teach you is another kind. But before that, you have heard of the Apostles of the Dragon King, right? Then do you know how powerful they are? Know a little. Brother Reese nodded, and he recalled. Inheritance memory says that the Apostles of the Dragon King are existences second only to the 8 extreme dragons, and the extreme dragons are the candidates of Jalmo of the Dragon King. Let's put it this way, even if it's me, Tidnik, and Guru Daemon combined, we can't gain the upper hand when fighting against the weakest Dragon King Apostle. And the strongest Dragon King Apostle only needs one blow to kill. They can instantly kill our 3 old guys. Not to mention the 8 extreme dragons, they are second only to the Dragon King, and they have the courage to challenge the Dragon King. The gap between them and the Dragon King is mostly just the army without the Dragon King. Speaking of this, Blue Dragon Instructor suddenly laughed meaningfully, and she said proudly. However, it's not uncommon for the Apostles of the Dragon King to have such a powerful secret. They become stronger through a dragon secret technique called correcting evil, and correcting evil is the ancestor of our Blue Dragon clan. The secret techniques created, such as the dragon scale marks on my body, are only extremely weakened versions of reform of evil, and their effects are not worthy of being compared with the full form of reform of evil. Quote, change, what is this? Brother Reese was shocked, and looked at the Blue Dragon teacher expectantly. The dragon's ability to improve evil actually refers to the magical transformation of the body. The blue dragon Norsandna looked into the distance and said leisurely, but it is different from engraving runes on the dragon scales. It is an independent magic system that directly integrates the light engravings into the body. For example, the Apostles of the Dragon King, there the light imprint marks are usually the power given to the Apostles by the Dragon King to mutate the body parts, so that part of the Dragon King's power can be used, so it is ridiculously strong. Then teacher, if there is no light mark bestowed by the Dragon King, what should we do? Brother Reese asked the point. This is what I want to tell you. It is not only the Dragon King who can bestow the light imprint of the evil, but he can also engrave it. However, this requires the use of something called a magic core, which is the magic core of a monster. Crystal nucleus. If one day you encounter a more powerful monster, after killing it, you might as well leave the magic nucleus, and then fuse its power to the body parts, so as to obtain part of its history. Is it so powerful? Brother Reese's eyes lit up. No magic. This is simple. After having the evil improvement system, directly defeat the enemy who can magic, and then engrave its ability, take it and copy it on the body. For example, the left arm is engraved with sharp claw tearing, and various powerful skills such as super power and jumping ability are also engraved on the right arm, legs, and head. Or if there is a gravityless or air stepping, engraved on the leg, can I run in the sky? However, since it's all like this, it's better to carve an air jet on the dragon's wings and turn it into a dragon fighter. Maybe when I am strong enough, the left hand fusion evolves into the wrist strength of the ultimate Godzilla, the core fusion evolves the red lotus Godzilla, the furnace heart enhances breathing, the dorsal fin fusion evolves into the planet Godzilla, the tail evolves into the real Godzilla, and the body. Wouldn't it be possible to solve all problems by integrating Super Godzilla? It can even fuse and evolve Ice and Snow Godzilla to solve your weakness of being afraid of the cold. Just when Reese was entering the fantasy phase. Brother Reese, you have to remember. The eyes of the blue dragon Norsandra gradually gathered and became quite serious. From my standpoint, I hope you can become a dragon king in the future and inject new blood into the high-end power of the dragon. But I teach you the ability to reform evil. I don't want you to use this power to kill and plunder everywhere to cultivate your own army strength. You have to promise me not to spread this power to the outside world, and it can only be used by you as a dragon. Secondly, if one day you get into trouble, don't say that I taught you. It seems the last sentence is the point. Speaking of which, mentor. Brother Reese pondered for a while, then said aloud. What's wrong? The blue dragon Nursandna turned her gaze and asked. Since reforming evil is so powerful, why don't you use it yourself? Brother Reese looked at the blue dragon Nursandra very seriously and asked, since this ability is very powerful, why haven't other dragons used it, and many dragons don't even understand it? Is it a forbidden technique? This question is very simple, because correcting evil requires a lot of physical fitness of giant dragons, and ordinary dragons have a death risk of more than 60%. Quote. The blue dragon Norsandra said calmly, because of the extremely high death rate, only the apostle of the Dragon King can bear it, but even if it is the apostle of the Dragon King, the power of fusion with other monsters will not exceed 2 to 3. Ah, are you sure it's not hurting me? Brother Reese was dumbfounded, he thought he could score unlimited times. Theoretically speaking, as long as your body can bear it, you can carry out the evil scoring at any time. Moreover, the weaker the power of the magic core, the easier it is for you to succeed. If you don't want it that day, just eliminate it, just replace it with a more powerful magic core. Afterwards, the blue dragon Norsandna narrowed her eyes and looked at her elder brother Reese, saying, if it's an ordinary young dragon, even if you kneel down and beg me, I can't teach it to use this ability. But you are not an ordinary dragon. Young dragon, your physical fitness far exceeds that of dragons of the same age, so I think you can adapt to this kind of power in advance. But remember 3 points. The first time you don't use a magic core that is too strong. Thirdly, don't put the nicks near the heart and head easily. The nicks that strengthen intelligence and thinking can easily corrode your mind and become a fallen dragon. Gudong. Yes, I remember it. Brother Reese swallowed, firmly remembering these 3 points. However, he will not be the first to scratch his brain, and at the same time stay away from the core area. Then the places that are most likely to be scratched should be the limbs and tail, as well as the most useless wings. Also, Brother Reese, for you, how to use the power you get is up to you, not me. I can only give you advice. If you listen to me, then you can follow others. There's no difference. The blue dragon Norsandra looked at her brother Reese beside her, as if looking at some kind of hope for the future. In the process of growing up, young dragons will experience various things, and gradually form their own ACEJ values and decide what kind of existence they will become in the future. All I can do is to let you gain strength and let you have a positive thought. As for how you use your power in the future, that's your business. Also, to celebrate you successfully passing the test from me, I have a present for you. The blue dragon Norsandna patiently guided her elder brother Reese. She is like a great teacher full of wisdom. That is, she did not ask Reese to think about philosophy, nor did she restrict Reese from abusing power. She just reminded Reese to use his mind to distribute power reasonably, not completely dependent on strength. Gift. Brother Reese looked up at Blue Dragon Mentor, who lowered his head slightly, and touched his forehead between his brows. Well, at that moment, Brother Reese seemed to have a lot of knowledge in his mind, which was more subtle and richer knowledge that he did not have in his inherited memory system. You have obtained the inheritance of the King of Wisdom of the Great Blue Dragon Nursandra. King of Wisdom Inheritance, the graduation gift given by the Great Blue Dragon Mentor Norsandna to Brother Reese Mirabel Ariasla, You can look up the various plants, information about biology, history and geography, magic runes, light imprints, etc., except for matters outside the blind area of Northandra's knowledge. This is the gift of knowledge, and to Reese, it is something more important than power. Thank you so much for your kindness, mentor. Brother Reese is extremely grateful. He swore that he would become famous in the future, so he shouted the banner of the great blue dragon mentor. If I mess up miserably in the future, I won't cause trouble to the big blue dragon mentor, so I will say that I stole it. Speaking of which, Brother Reese. It's almost time. Just when Brother Reese wanted to ask something, Norsandna suddenly raised her chin, indicating that it was time for Brother Reese to go to the next place to look for the old rock dragon. The hell that is waiting for you has just begun. The old rock dragon's training method is purely to strengthen the body. You'd better not make him angry. He is not as gentle as me. Brother Reese looked in the direction indicated by Northandna. In the volcanic area of Long Island, a huge active volcano went straight into the clouds and emitted billowing black smoke, which looked extremely terrifying. That's your next destination, the hot area of Jesserand, the red dragon's lair. Quote. Aren't I going to the lair of the old rock dragon? It was like this at the beginning, but the old rock dragon seems to have changed his mind. He decided to train your fighting and breathing with the big red dragon Guru Daemon, and the environment also chose the most terrifying position. Okay, hurry up, before it's too late. When Norsandra said this, the transfer magic circle under Gareth's feet was activated. With a flash of bright light, when Brother Reese opened his eyes again, he found that he was already in a different place. Norsandra watched her Brother Reese disappearing back. Her eyes flickered with anticipation, as if she saw the future in the not-too-distant future. It is a mountain that no one can climb to the top. It is a sea that no one can cross. It is the supreme god, a giant tree of apocalypse standing on the earth. It's king of dragons and king of monsters, Brother Reese Mirabeau Reese. On this day, somewhere in the sky of Jesserand, several young dragons flapped their wings slightly and floated in midair. They teasingly looked at the two superior dragons on the ground that were much larger than the other young dragons, and laughed. Haha, what a weak guy. It's so funny. Is the upper dragon species only at this level? With such a big body, it doesn't have any deterrent power at all. Ahahaha, so funny. Following the mocking eyes of the young dragons, there was a golden mad dragon hatchling on the ground. Its entire body length reached 10 meters, its claws became longer and sharper, and the curved horns on its head were even more ferocious. Extending forward, with the growth of body size, the scales on the wild dragon species are also changing synchronously, gradually becoming bigger and harder like thorns, and the sharpness speed also increases together. Due to the rapidly mutating dragon cells, its body developed rapidly, but its wings fell into stagnant evolution due to the rapid weight growth. But even so, the golden body still showed a strong sense of presence, and the clear muscle outline made it possible for anyone who saw the existence of this body to intuitively feel how powerful it contained. Therefore, in terms of hand-to-hand combat, Dilbas of the wild dragon can only be said to have become stronger, but weaker. But it was teased by a group of young dragons whose size was 7 or 8 meters, or even a circle smaller than itself, and was even bullied. Is it because they can fly? Of course not. Dilbas of the Mad Dragon possesses the skill of Crazy Dragon Roar, which can shake the atmosphere with a roar, and shoot down all the enemies in the air. But it didn't do that. It looks like it's curled up, it looks like it's scared. I don't know if it's because I'm afraid of fighting, or because I'm afraid of the young dragons flying in the sky. I'm fighting with you. There was a sound of breaking through the air, and another cyan high-ranking dragon on the ground glared at the young dragons in the sky. A torrent of extremely fast magic power erupted from her body. The evolution of her has given her a pretty good flight experience. However, since Zilith of the Phantom Dragon species does not have any actual combat experience, after being surrounded by young dragons, she is often teased and loses her direction. Actually, is this the trick? Hehe, Phantom Dragon, is your attack method only straightforward? Although the speed is very fast, it's too immature. And, who do you think we are? Ha 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 ha, the young dragons have to look like young dragons. Today I will let you see how young dragons fight. The clouds below were pierced, and a cunning green young dragon that sneaked up from below attacked Silph's wings with sharp claws, causing her to suffer pain. At the same time, Her left wing trembled slightly, and her body moved a little distance to the right, so it almost hit the big tree on the side. HMPH, don't you know even the most basic flight steering? The young dragons laughed happily. They seemed to find incomparable satisfaction from bullying these new generation young dragons. This is probably the bullying of the upper grade students on the lower grade students. However, Shi Lufu of the phantom dragon species didn't seem to intend to give up, and once again fought against this group of young dragons with 1 against 5. The moment she passed through the clouds, the magic dragon Exilufu's ears keenly caught something approaching from behind her at a high speed. She hurriedly flapped her wings, twisted her body slightly, and wanted to make a sharp turn to catch up with someone existence as thrown out. Caught you. But during the rapid flight, Shi Lufu's tail was suddenly grabbed by the guy behind her, her pupils froze, and she turned around to see 2 young dragons grabbing her tail and slamming it violently, drawing a circle in midair arc, and slammed towards the ground. During the fall, a young dragon flew over and stepped on it, causing Shi Lufu to accelerate towards the ground at a faster speed. High in the sky, a screaming phantom dragon fell to the ground like a meteor. Boom! With a loud noise, a large amount of dust was blown to the surroundings, and a huge pit with a diameter of nearly 10 meters and a wingspan was formed. Don't admit defeat yet, Siluf. Looking quietly at the phantom dragon that was thrown to the ground, the young dragons flew over and laughed. Exclamation mark quote. Exilufu's claws supported her tightly to stand up from the ground. Her body with slightly broken dragon scales was trembling. Even if she tried to resist, it would be of no avail. Her strength is simply not enough in front of this group of young dragons. Although she flies very fast, she is not as flexible as them, and she is not as numerous as them, and she knows how to cooperate to bully people. Siluf, didn't your mentor tell you? During the battle, no one will care what your identity is, and this is already the result of my strength. And you are obviously a young dragon. Why do you want to claiming to be a young dragon? Since you have come here, you have to follow the rules of the young dragon. This is a combat training ground. I think you should be very clear, right? Seeing Shi Lufu's stubborn eyes, the young dragon beside the deep pit stood upright, raised its claws, and spread its wings high, showing a deterrent movement. I said it all, we didn't get close on purpose. Shi Lufu gritted her teeth and looked at the innocent young dragons, feeling a burst of anger in her heart. You say no, is it not? The other young dragons surrounded them one after another, with fierce eyes in their eyes. You think we are, huh? What's going on? The ground is shaking. At this time, the green young dragon in the lead raised its head, as if it felt that the ground under its feet was trembling slightly, and the nearby sand grains were also trembling. Look over there, a young black dragon is coming. Outside the open space, a burly black dragon with a height of nearly 20 meters is slowly moving forward, with a huge and strong dragon tail swaying behind it. Every time you take a step, the ground shakes slightly. A black dragon in youth. Why did it appear here? Soon, when the black dragon brother Reese entered the area with a blank face, all the young dragons were startled, their eyes lingering on the black dragon brother Reese. Boss. It's the boss. Just when the black dragon was still contemplating how to face the rock dragon mentor and the red dragon mentor next, an excited shout came from not far in front of him. Forehead. Brother Reese's body froze suddenly. He slowly raised his head, and looked towards the open space. The mad dragon Direbas not far away was also attracted attention and cast surprise eyes. Should I say long time no see, Siluf? Brother Reese looked at the cyan dragonling that appeared in front of him, and asked in a peaceful tone. A friend of Sylph. The young dragons looked at each other and took a few steps back quietly. They looked at the approaching black dragon in fear, staring at the sturdy body, the shiny scales, the dorsal fin that shone coldly, the sharp dragon claws, and the ferocious look. The eyes, no matter how you look at it, don't look like any troublesome guy, giving people a strong sense of threat. Sorry, boss. Hearing the voice of Brother Reese, the little magic dragon lowered his head in frustration, drooped his head, and said with a sad face, I'm sorry, I let you see such a shameful scene. And looked at Shi Lufu who fell in the pit, and the mad dragon Direbas who was holding his head next to him and had many blow scars on his body. Brother Reese's pupils contracted slightly, and then he seemed to understand something. Have you been attacked? Brother Reese's indifferent eyes wandered between Silaf and the group of young dragons. Being so scanned by it, the young dragons leaned back their necks and flapped their wings, trying to stay away as much as possible. Snort. Seeing this scene, Shilufu snorted coldly with disdain, and said loudly, "Want to escape? Cowards. You don't even have the courage to confront the boss. You young dragons can only bully the young dragons. Do something. Silaf, don't be too arrogant. You can only hide for a while with the backing of the youthful dragon. Young dragons don't suffer from immediate losses, so what about young dragons? Do you dare to violate the rules and attack young dragons? Leave them alone, let's retreat." A group of young dragons quickly soared into the air, their bodies trembling slightly, as if they felt a strong sense of crisis from this black dragon. "Who are they?" Brother Reese silently watched the young dragons flying away, lowered his head and asked Shilufu. "HMPH, it's just a bunch of young dragon scum who deliberately find fault." After 503, past the trial, the phantom dragon's Zilif seemed to have changed a lot. Although she still couldn't fully control her magic power, her will became more tenacious and her courage was greater than before. On the other hand, Dilbaz of the Wild Dragon was still cowardly. Looking at him, Deputy Reese didn't say much. "By the way, boss, what are you doing here?" Silaf looked up at the black dragon, which was 3 times bigger than her, and swallowed her saliva. She thought that she had mutated fast enough, but she didn't expect her brother Reese's size to skyrocket even more. "I'm going to the volcano, this is the shortest way." When Brother Reese said this, his eyes drifted away from the injury on Shilufu, and then fell on her injured wing. "Did those young dragons hurt you just now?" "Well, it doesn't matter, anyway, it will heal soon," Shilufu said nonchalantly, but she always felt ashamed, letting the dragon she admired the most see her weakest scene. "Dilbaz, are you injured too?" "Leave him alone." As soon as that guy saw the group of young dragons, he was too scared to fight back. How weak. Even Shilufu was very angry and seemed dissatisfied with Dilbaz's performance. And Dilbaz still buried his head under the wings, closing his eyes with a painful face. That's it. Originally, Brother Reese didn't intend to do anything, he just passed by. But now, he has an idea. The battleground for the young dragons is over there. Brother Reese looked in a certain direction, and then parted his mouth, revealing an unfriendly smile. Yes, boss, you'd better go around somewhere, the direction to the volcano is on another road." "Okay, I know." Brother Reese ignored Silaf's suggestion, and then walked towards the young dragon battlefield step by step. His decision was obvious. Moreover, Brother Reese wants to test how far he has grown. Moving on, Brother Reese came to the place where the young dragons were trained to fight. It was a huge circular canyon. In the crevices of the canyon live colorful young dragons, all of them are about 3 to 10 meters in size, with red, yellow, blue and green scales everywhere. With a loud bang, these young dragons watched in astonishment as the canyon entrance was destroyed, and then a robust black dragon with a height of nearly 20 meters and a total length of nearly 30 meters walked in, its eyes swept over them in midair and on the ground. "Police. Who is this youthful black dragon? What is it doing here?" When the young dragons were puzzled, Brother Reese slammed his tail on the ground, creating thunder, and the whole training ground fell silent for a moment. Hundreds of young dragons looked at him curiously, and he also released it has revealed his powerful aura and deterred this group of young dragons. Then, it roared, "You guys, let's go together." Originally, Gao Reese was going all the way to the direction of the volcano. But what happened to Silaf and Dilbaz made him change his mind. Although the relationship between Brother Reese and the 2 young dragons is not close enough to call them brothers and sisters, they are still his subordinates. At least in the trial cave, the 3 cooperate to overcome one difficulty after another. But now, they were bullied like that by a group of young dragons of unknown origin. Who gave them the courage? Brother Reese thought. He said it was false not to be angry, but what can be done? Can you find those flying baby dragons and teach them a lesson? When Brother Reese showed hostility, he knew that it was impossible for those young dragons to fight him. When he saw them staring at him in fear and trembling, he knew it at a glance. Young dragons are afraid of themselves, which is the most basic respect they give themselves. And those who are not afraid of themselves are the ones who deserve death. By now, Chef Reese had done everything to prepare for the fight. He has long wanted to test his training results. He wants to know where his limits are and what his weaknesses are. Having destroyed the entrance to the Drake battlefield, Reese continues on. Wherever he passed, the breath exuded strong malice. Now he knows what he is doing and what he should do. Even though those young dragons were hiding in this group of dragons, they still didn't stop sending out provocative and threatening signals. Since those bullying guys didn't dare to respond to themselves, then Brother Reese made the choice for them. Now, he has already expressed his intention, which is a signal to fight. Since there is no response, then it is better to target all young dragons. What are you hiding from? What are you running from? The hometown of the dragon gave birth to you and made you the most combative race in the world. Now, how dare you avoid the battle that belongs to the dragon? Are you also worthy to be called dragons? The young dragons in the canyon boiled instantly, flapping their countless wings, and soared into the sky like a swarm of bees. They looked angrily at the young black dragon who broke into their territory and challenged them. But only those young dragons who did something bad knew who Reese was talking about. They blushed, but when they saw their companions being provoked one after another, their bluish and purple faces showed gloating expressions, as if they were secretly scolding the black dragon for being stupid. Black dragon, this is not a place for you to run wild. You want to challenge all of our young dragons. Just you, a young dragon. No kidding. I have never seen such an arrogant dragon. Everyone, teach it a lesson. Countless voices came from my ears. You think you guys can beat me? Brother Reese said with his eyes closed. He is far stronger than them. The trial of the earth, the trial of the water, the trial of magic. None of these can stop the footsteps of Brother Reese. His strength is beyond the reach of other young dragons. The young dragons dominate the sky, but when they land on land, they are just worms, not even dragons. You are too arrogant. See if I don't tear you apart. A golden young dragon closest to Brother Reese rushed up furiously, raised its claws and unleashed a blow that could smash rocks. It seems that you have made a choice. This sentence seems to be said to some dragons. Facing the attack of the golden baby dragon, Brother Reese just stretched out his right claw to respond, and then the huge force knocked the golden baby dragon to the ground, and grabbed the golden baby dragon. The dragon's head then straightened its upper body, and lifted the golden young dragon up. Roar! The moment its head was grabbed, the golden young dragon roared immediately, and grabbed Reese's right arm with his backhand. Give me peace of mind. Brother Reese's right paw pinched the golden dragon's head tightly, and the golden dragon let out a painful cry. Boom! Although the appearance is similar to Dilba's, maybe it is its big brother or something, but for me, this power is too weak. I said, if you don't go together, you have no chance of winning. Brother Reese pressed down with his right paw, smashing the golden baby dragon's head into the ground, and said in a calm voice. Then the golden young dragon fell motionless and lost consciousness. Need I repeat that, scumbags? Need I repeat that, scumbags? As soon as these words fell, the roar of hundreds of young dragons resounded in the sky instantly. Its movement stunned the dragon mentors in the distance. They looked at this side dumbfounded. The group of young dragons covering the sky were madly attacking a black adolescent dragon. Overreaching, the domineering Brother Reese stood up straight, like an unshakable mountain peak. Facing the collision of the young dragons at this time, it stretched out its arms without hesitation to block the opponent's impact. Boom! There was a crashing sound like dull thunder, and dragons attacked Reese from all directions. However, when they completely surrounded the gigantic beast like an arhat, an incomparably powerful shockwave erupted from the black dragon's body, and with the crackling and flickering of endless lightning energy, the violent thunder and lightning instantly knocked it into the air. A large number of young dragons were found vulnerable. Brother Reese, with an arc flashing in his mouth, glanced to the side, and saw a large swath of baby dragons falling down with him as the center, which was the price of melee combat with him. Roar! Seeing that they could not get close to the black dragon monster, the young dragons let out a sharp roar in the sky, then flapped their wings, and swooped towards Reese, releasing a magic fireball on the way. Boom! All kinds of magic are bombarding the huge black dragon like cannonballs, fireballs, water blades, ice cones, air cannons, acid breath, sludge bombs, dense rainstorms of low-level and low-level magic have covered the black dragon Brother Reese's body. Dragon blood explosion. Brother Reese tore open his wrists with sharp claws without hesitation, splashed the viscous dragon blood in the air, and then the black lightning flashed and the breath beam shining in the sky from his mouth. Roar! Lightning is white hot. When the breath penetrated the atmosphere and instantly ignited the dragon's blood, an extremely strong, demon-killing pulse instantly spread out along with the explosion, and in the dust filled with embers and flying fire. The young dragons who were releasing magic in the sky screamed and fell down like dumplings. They were all backlashed by magic power. With the expansion of the demon-eliminating pulse, the giant dragons several kilometers around were startled, and looked this way in disbelief. Now, it's my turn. When most of the young dragons fell, Brother Reese's huge body was running wildly in the dust. A huge black shadow was looming, the dorsal fin exuded a strong light, its destructive claws and tail swept across, easily killed most of the juveniles. Boom! As Brother Reese ran, the ground seemed to tremble, causing the young dragons on the ground to retreat in horror. They had never seen such a violent dragon. And as the black dragon approached, one after another young dragons were knocked into the air. They were like mantis arms being used as carts, their ribs were broken, and their wings were broken, although for the young dragons, these injuries can be recovered quickly, but they will also completely lose their combat effectiveness in a short period of time. Roar! The roar of the black dragon caused the air to form shock waves, causing the earth to ripple with huge mud. At that moment, the overwhelming tyrannical dragon Prestige moved towards the group of young dragons oppressively as if in a demonstration. Their strength gap is too great. Because of this, the tyrannical and cruel aura shown by Brother Reese directly frightened the young dragons in the arena. Even though more than half of the young dragons still retain their combat power, even though Reese seems to have consumed a lot of energy and has a few more scratches on his body, the young dragons showed fear in their eyes. For every step Reese takes, they take 2 steps back. This picture is too shocking, so that the young dragons who saw this fighting style for the first time were frightened, let alone the 2 young dragons who came outside. Horrible. Boss, so strong. And he actually did this for us. Silaf and Dilbaz came here after hearing the news, and because they were worried about Reese, they endured fear and entered the canyon, but they saw an indelible picture in their entire lives. In their eyes, any of those young dragons was a terrifying predator in the sky, but they didn't expect that in front of that giant black dragon, it was as fragile as a piece of paper. I am not trying to be your enemy. After the exhalation was over, there was a flash of electric sparks in Reese's mouth. It stood in the flames of the explosion, looking at a large group of young dragons who were knocked down by the shock wave like a god of destruction. It didn't say a word, and its majesty made people feel frightened. Its pupils are like golden thunderbolts. At this moment, the brains of the young dragons who saw this scene quickly calmed down. My goal is to become and surpass the Dragon King. I am the enemy of all your young dragons. If you offend me, there is no way to kill you now. But you will leave this island one day. You will always leave your parents and mentors under the wings. If you meet me outside, I will make you feel desperate. In the name of my brother Reese Mirabo Riesla. As the announcement fell, the drakes crumbled. Only then did they realize what kind of existence they were fighting against. A large group of young dragons fell to the ground in horror. Fear and despair forced them to bow their heads and crawl at the feet of Brother Reese. In a short time, they dared not challenge again him. Get out of here. Go back to where you are supposed to be. Yes, the remaining group of young dragons responded in horror. They flapped their wings and fled outwards, and soon disappeared without a trace, and they didn't dare to stay here for a long time. But it seems they forgot that Reese was the intruder. But it doesn't matter anymore. It's like a lunatic appearing in school. Even if you are much taller than him, do you dare to fight him desperately? He is not afraid of death, are you? He dares to risk his life with you, do you dare? At this time, the giant dragons outside opened their mouths wide and looked in the direction of the young dragon canyon. Many dragon instructors looked at this scene in a daze. Their students were beaten up by a black dragon for no reason, and then fled in fright. After leaving the canyon, it is estimated that he will not dare to come back in a short time. That rascal, what the hell is it? The dragon tutors of the young dragons looked at each other, at a loss. At this time, in the canyon, except for a dozen or so young dragons who lost consciousness and dozens of young dragons who were still howling, the entire space returned to its original silence. Only the black giant dragon located in the burning ruins in the center was still emitting flickering lights. The dark golden light seems to be following some kind of breathing. After a long time, Brother Reese closed his mouth, as if recovering some of his strength, dragged his body with a few scars and walked outside. On the way, he glanced at the magic dragon and the mad dragon without staying too long. I went to training. Brother Reese only left a brief sentence, then passed them, dragged their thorny and damaged tails, and walked towards the volcano area. The mad dragon Durbaz and the phantom dragon Shilufu looked at his back as if they had been greatly shocked. Although the boss didn't say anything, they all revealed a piece of information. They are giant dragons of the same period, but now they seem so strange. If they are still afraid of fighting, then one day, they will become strangers. As if realizing something, the mad dragon Durbaz's eyes gradually became brighter, with a direction to chase and move forward. The black dragon's figure seemed to be imprinted in its soul, reflecting the darkness in Jin's vertical pupils. I want to become stronger too. Become as strong as the boss. I want all the young dragons on Shenglong Island to look up to me. As if she had some goal to pursue, the magic dragon Exilufu shook her little paw and raised her head to look at the sky. Then, let's do this first. Dilbaz, I'm going to train too. After Shilufu finished speaking, she flapped her wings and flew away. Me too. As if a certain belief had been awakened, the daunting, even frightening dragon demon, Durbaz Austin Carl, in the future raised his head. He decided to spend his whole life following the emperor he admired in his heart. Quote. Looking at the scene in the distance, Brother Reese looked at a loss. At this time, the place where he was located seemed to be the edge of a scorching volcano exuding a desolate atmosphere. This was the most dangerous place in Jesseland. The interior of the volcano billowing black smoke shows no signs of normal life. There is a sea of boiling red everywhere, like being in a furnace of hell. Watching the lava flow overflowing from the crack, Brother Reese fell into silence. That, Rock Dragon Instructor. Red Dragon Instructor. Are you there? Brother Reese looked left and right, but he didn't find the figures of the dragon mentors at all. But he accidentally discovered some strange creatures emerging from the magma pool with unique shapes. What is this? Wait, why are there so many abnormal beings trapped in the magma pool? Brother Reese discovered that the magma pool here is not a dead place, and there are many unique environmental creatures living in the magma. Red lotus slime, lava crab, mimic golden turtle, flame essence. Brother Reese called out their names one by one, and then locked his eyes on an unidentified strange creature that resembled a stone man. Yes, it is the stone man. Brother Reese remembered a character in a Confrontation Road game he played in his previous life, and his line was, "I also jumped out of a rock." If you look carefully, the little thing looks very unique, like a humanoid body made of several stones. Their limb joints are covered by red magma-like substances. It seems that there is some magic power driving them, and there is a glowing red glow in the chest cavity, crystal core. Interestingly, these little creatures can walk and run like other creatures. They even make noise and fight, just like human cubs. As for why small is used, because the size of these stone figures is generally about half a meter to 1 meter, which is similar to the palm of Brother Reese, and they are very small. Well, I checked the inheritance memory of the Blue Dragon teacher. It seems to be called the Lava Stone Man, or in childhood. It is said that the growth cycle of this thing is extremely long, calculated according to thousands of years. The largest individual, over 1,000 meters, is like a living volcano. What are you looking at? Have you never seen a dragon? Brother Reese stared at one of the little stone men, and the stone man also noticed his gaze and looked at him. After staring at each other for a few seconds, Brother Reese growled at it, but the little stone man seemed unmoved. It didn't know what fear was, and its intelligence was quite low. Snapped. So the black dragon raised its tail a little bit unhappily, and flew it out with the tail whip, and smashed it accurately into the magma pool, causing a big heat wave. Oh, what a wonderful booby. But after a while, Brother Reese found that the magma was bubbling, and the little stone man crawled out of the pool angrily, and rushed towards him like a bull, yelling, "Woohoo!" But soon he was pinned down by the black dragon's claws, turned his arms on the spot, and raised his fist. The little thing is quite cute, your hands are so short, haha. Brother Reese seemed to see something interesting, and teased the stone man there. People are stupid to begin with, but you still make fun of them. As a result, the little stone man opened his mouth angrily, and a lava shell hit his brother Reese in the face, burning him and growling. Hey, why are you so eager to teach? Lava titans are not conventional creatures, they are element lifeforms. If they just look so stupid and only have stone bodies, they might have been extinct long ago. However, this kind of creature is the nemesis of physical occupations, and they are immune to physical death. And with the accumulation of time, the lava titan can grow very large, and can absorb the power of magic, becoming a huge monster like a mountain. It's a pity that the size difference between the little stone man and brother Reese is too big. This is completely one-sided crushing. Of course, if that counts as fighting, not playing. Go away, I won't play with you anymore. Brother Reese stared, exuding a coercion of a giant dragon. This coercion belonging to the dragon clan instantly made the naughty little stone people around scream and run away in embarrassment. It looks silly and cute. Although the little stone man in his hand was very angry and unwilling, but instinctively felt that the black dragon in front of him was about to get angry, so he had no choice but to run away. Not surprisingly, the creatures here should all be raised by the mentor of the great red dragon, or created by it. So brother Reese didn't dare to do anything to them. If he accidentally stepped on them to death, he would be in bad luck. Sure enough, shortly after the little stone man left, brother Reese suddenly felt a strong shock. Sensing the flow of magic power, he immediately raised his head. There was another violent shock from the volcano, and above Reese's head, the sky turned black all of a sudden. I saw a huge lava dragon with a height of several tens of meters burning with terrifying flames all over his body, slowly standing upright, with a big-eyed soul resting nearby. Boom! The majestic big rock dragon stood tall on the ground. You were late. In the lava lake of the volcano, the old rock dragon entrenched in the huge cavity under the magma glanced at his brother Reese expressionlessly. Its body surface became pitch black, and its shape was different. Brother Reese knew a different gesture. Sorry for keeping you waiting, teacher to Nick. Brother Reese felt his head explode, but he didn't expect the roar from the old rock dragon's mouth to be so unbelievably loud. Even a giant dragon of his size couldn't get rid of the torment of this roar. Come down and take a shower. The big rock dragon Tednick said casually, and put a huge paw on the ground. No, forget it. Brother Reese was taken aback and backed away in horror. The biggest reason why the old rock dragon can resist the high temperature and high pressure of magma is the thick rock shell that covers the whole body and has been solidified for a long time, so it can live in a high pressure environment. Are you looking down on the temperature of the magma? It can be said that 99.9% of the creatures in this world cannot survive in magma, and magma is also the thing that restrains the destruction of all life. Do you have the guts to challenge the young dragons, but don't you have the guts to take a bath in the magma? The big rock dragon to Nick said contemptuously, and then walked out of the lava pool. Its huge body alone caused the ground to be crushed, and if it waved its tail, the ground surface would be cut by the roots. Its steel claw-like dragon palm can easily shatter rock plates with a single blow. In addition, its heavy giant tail, in addition to being able to maintain the balance of its giant body, can also be used as an extremely terrifying weapon to crush all mountains. The sharp teeth and strong bite force in its mouth give people a feeling that metal blocks can be used as snacks. Its ink-like scales exuding metallic luster are located under the rock skin, which looks quite terrifyingly tough. Is this the big rock dragon to Nick? As expected of a dragon mentor, it is really terrifying. Brother Reese can't figure out how to defeat this terrifying monster with high defense, high resistance, and high blood volume, but it is said that the natural enemy of the rock dragon family is the crazy dragon species, and only the super shock breath of the crazy dragon can cause damage to them. Effectively restrains damage. But the key point is that I am not a mad dragon, but if I have a chance in the future, I can engrave the skills of the mad dragon, so that I can unlock the skill, super poison wave breathing. At that time, any rock and metal defenses will be as fragile as tofu dregs in front of him, as if they are in vain. Ah, I was just playing with those young dragons. I didn't fight seriously, otherwise some dragons would have fallen down. You're still proud of bullying those little guys. Actually, he is also a baby. Brother Reese said helplessly. According to his age, he is still a young dragon. Asterisk backquote. Ha 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 ha. Big rock dragon to Nick let out a loud laugh that shook the air, but he was not angry. You are different from them, you are special, a special guy who has eaten so many of my collections. Ahem, mentor, tell me, what is your training for me? My training is superimposed with Gu Luo Daemon. As long as you can do this, you are considered qualified. Between the words, the big rock dragon Nick took a sharp breath, and Brother Reese instantly felt the violent breath begin to gather towards its mouth. How is this going? I saw that the amazing heart and lung ability of the big rock dragon Nick can produce a vortex when it inhales, and then a roar that covers everything is released, and a terrifying impact breath that forms a black tornado is released from the big rock dragon's mouth, blowing the magma in front of it. The lake broke through, and the endless rocks instantly shattered. The shock wave it produces is visible to the naked eye, and wherever the sound pressure goes, the ground shakes, rock formations break, and lava erupts. Too horrible. After watching the roaring shock wave fall, Brother Reese was shocked. It was not dragon's breath, but its power was comparable to dragon's breath. Boy, the rock dragon clan doesn't have flame bags, electric bags, freezing air bags and other punching organs, so they can't spit out dragon's breath normally. Although the lava dragon can emit a destructive high-temperature beam, it is also a special individual. Big Rock Dragon Nick said this patiently, and announced, if other giant dragons want to learn this trick, they need a huge body size, jowlies and excellent lung capacity. For this reason, the strength of the body you must also keep up. If you can let the magma recede just by roaring, then you can see the ancient Rodaman under the magma lake, and it will teach you how to strengthen the dragon's breath next. The big blue dragon mentor taught Brother Reese how to use magic power, and strengthened his spirit, wisdom, and thinking. Then what the teacher of Dianlong wants to teach is a strong physique, a dragon's roar, and invincible power. And the final reinforcement of the great red dragon teacher is the destructive dragon's breath, the power to burn everything, and the real dragon's wrath consciousness. After passing all 3 trials, Brother Reese will have the qualifications to become the Dragon King. Because most of the other Dragon Kings have passed the 3 trials. Even if they didn't clear all the levels, they performed exceptionally well in a certain trial. Perhaps it was not Big Rock Dragon Nick and others who taught those Dragon Kings, but those Dragon Kings were indeed able to achieve this level, possessing huge magic power, a powerful body, and a world-shattering dragon breath. If you want to become the Dragon King, then the first step is to surpass them on their running line. After completing all these trials, Brother Reese no longer needs other mentors to teach, but needs real practical experience. At that time, there is a high probability that he will be kicked out of Dragon Island, forced to go to the mainland as a young dragon to hone himself, or be selected by the apostles of the Dragon King, and enter a certain self-domain to receive key training. Nick, are you sure you want to exercise it this way? In the underground cave of the magma lake, the great red dragon Gu Luo Daemon surrounded by flames was quiet for a long time, and at a certain moment, it suddenly spoke out. Isn't this measuring its limit? Although the little guy is quite big, judging from his aura, his body mass is not enough. Although I don't know why it grows so fast, the puffy body it takes a lot of tempering to become refined. Somewhere in the underground cave, the majestic figure of the old rock dragon Nick appeared there. It slowly walked to the side of the big red dragon, and said somewhat casually. Is it the quality? The big red dragon Gu Luo Daemon seemed to understand something. In other words, the current brother, Reese, is too light. His current weight is completely unworthy of such a huge body, which caused a large part of his cells to be in a swelled state. If these swelled cells are tempered into real muscles, and the mass increases dramatically while maintaining the same body shape, then the defensive power will also be a very exaggerated qualitative change. Therefore, the intention of the old rock dragon is to let Brother Reese suspend the horizontal growth of body shape, but to strengthen his own weight. The more active the magma layer is, the more radiation it contains. But in Reese's perspective, he sees a pretty incredible picture through thermal radiation vision. The magma lake is full of rich radioactive energy. The deeper it goes, the thicker the radioactive energy, but the higher the temperature, it is easy to cause a devastating blow to its body. The old rock dragon is really cunning. It threw its precious radioactive minerals into the magma lake, attracting me. However, if I can't adapt to the temperature of the magma, I can't absorb the radiation at all. Brother Reese looked up at the many stone pillars and lava ridges in the magma lake. The deeper you go, the more dangerous it is, but the radioactive energy is also more abundant. Fight. Brother Reese made a decision after observing the terrain. At this time, located on a giant volcano located in the center of the hometown of dragons, Jesseland, if a giant dragon looks down at a height of 10,000 meters, you will find a small black spot climbing up the ridge near the volcanic lake. Climb. Pull the perspective in. Then you can clearly see the true face of the black spot, which is the black young dragon Brother Reese. Brother Reese, who climbed near the giant volcano, no matter how majestic and powerful he was when he was fighting the young dragons, he was still a fragile and insignificant creature in front of nature. Old man, you can't trap me. Brother Reese didn't foolishly stand in place and roar at the magma lake, because he knew that he couldn't have such a large lung capacity, and he couldn't let the magma retreat just by roaring like the old rock dragon said. Like when he cleared the magic trap of the great blue dragon mentor, Brother Reese has never been one to follow the ordinary path. As long as you can reach the depths of the lava lake, you will pass the level. For me, I don't need to practice dragon's roar at all. As long as the cells in my body adapt to the high temperature and absorb enough radiation, I can continue to become stronger and evolve crazily. At this moment, Brother Reese's pupils flickered non-stop, and he continued to climb upwards. This gigantic volcano with a height of several thousand meters is much bigger than it, and the huge energy released inside is enough to turn an ancient continent into a sea of flames. And he only has less than 3 months to complete the challenge. Compared to practicing roaring foolishly, he uses the shortest time to absorb the huge radiation energy. If you adapt to the high temperature of the magma, you can only fail. Seek wealth and wealth. Gao Reese had to succeed because he had put down harsh words in front of the group of young dragons before. Boom, boom, like a huge melting pot, the Red Lotus volcano releases ultra-high temperature heat Ache to the outside world all the time. You can feel the indescribable heat just from above. Brother Reese's body is slightly red, and even the sweat is instantly it turns into water vapor and disappears. Fortunately, volcanic rocks have relatively strong radiation, and there are a large number of rich ore resources in the area that constitutes volcanic rocks. These ores became the food for Brother Reese to supplement his strength temporarily. While looking for radioactive minerals, he lowered his head and looked down. A large cloud of lava. Below his body is a terrifying magma lake. The magma like a mantle plume rises from time to time, spewing out terrible flame pillars. Brother Reese needs to be careful of this kind of trap at all times. Hurry up, we're almost at the top of the central area. Brother Reese couldn't restrain the excitement, his body was excited and trembling now, feeling that the old rock dragon's body is strong enough to withstand the impact of magma, but at the same time, he had to take a gamble to absorb this huge radiation energy. Although the energy here is huge, Reese is not greedy at all. As long as you swallow a little bit, even a little bit is enough to restore your physical strength, and even allow your body to grow and evolve again. It's so exciting. Brother Reese twisted his neck and aimed his sight at the top of a floating pillar stone platform in the center of the magma lake. With a dull bang, it leapt forward, its pitch-black dragon claws stretched out instantly, and hooked fiercely on the rock pillar. After reducing the impact, the black dragon's body landed on the huge pillar stone platform, causing the stone platform to shake. The lava lake erupted into flames. Hey, it's so dangerous. Brother Reese stuck his head out and looked down. Thick black smoke is brewing below the lava lake, and there are lightning flashes in the dark clouds in the nearby midair, and electric currents are also flashing on its dorsal fin. The billowing dark red magma is gradually tumbling, bubbling, and a foul-smelling sulfurous gas smells come, poisonous substances are everywhere. I can hold on, but the oxygen is thin here, and I have to evolve an adapted organ to filter it. Brother Reese held his nose, but he also found a problem, that is, the soles of his feet, sizzling, sounded due to the high temperature of the rock pillar, and green smoke came out, and the burning pain forced him to stand upright on both feet, non-stop lift your feet and move. It's so hot, can't we evolve a thicker cortex? Just when Brother Reese was crying inwardly, a reminder came from his mind. System. Due to the loss of a large number of cells, your body was forced to make adaptive evolution, consuming 20% of the total dragon cells, and the soles of your feet evolved heat-resistant skin, which greatly increased your fire resistance. Heat-resistant skin. Dead mutant dragon cells turn into thick cocoons, and thick wrinkled scales grow on the soles of your feet, allowing you to step on high-temperature lava. The price is a bit high, and the physical strength has been exhausted for a fifth of the day. But fortunately, Brother Reese doesn't have to jump like a clown now. His feet are no longer hot and unbearable, and he has successfully adapted to the high-temperature rock surface. The next step is to eat and replenish energy. Brother Reese looked up to the place ahead, and all the ores or crystals with radioactive energy fell into its belly. And in this volcano, crystals like this mixed with rocks are filled with radioactive energy everywhere. He was not picky eaters either, but he would not refuse anyone who came, and ate all the food he could touch. But what really made him envious was a huge fusion crystal of radioactive minerals located in the center of the billowing magma. That should be a reward deliberately set by the old rock dragon Tednik, because it knows that it cannot resist this temptation, just like the rock dragons are constantly pursuing delicious, high-energy ores. I have to be patient and not be in a hurry yet. Brother Reese closed his eyes and cleared his mind. The magic trial of the big blue dragon mentor has gradually made him calm down. Only by waiting patiently can he reap the real reward. He observed the surrounding environment again. The top of the cone of the volcano was in the shape of an hourglass. Thick smoke erupted upwards, and there were many fractured channels below. The magma often used these cracks as channels. There were a small number of huge rock platforms floating above, wearing something. In addition to the high temperature, there is extremely strong radioactive radiation here. Just staying near the magma lake, the cells in the whole body began to activate crazily, and in the area near the center, every half-meter close, the body was almost trembling. If my whole body can evolve into heat-resistant skin, then I should be able to enter the magma, right? Brother Reese looked excitedly at the huge magma flow in front of him, and the dark red magma made his heart tremble slightly. So he chose to sleep in this place. Then absorb the surrounding radiation as much as possible, let the cells proliferate and fission desperately in a short period of time to expand the body size, and finally, under the stimulation of high temperature, the dead skin horniness and scales are stacked together to form a thick cocoon, which acts as a thermal insulation effect. Just like the lava carapace on the old rock dragon, Reese hopes that his body can evolve accordingly. But his time is limited. Brother Reese can't afford to wait a year, or even 2 years, to evolve into a perfect heat-resistant skin. And he's hot as hell right now, his core temperature keeps rising, but what can he do? Patience, patience, nothing but patience. ... My invincible monster cells, you guys hurry up and think of a way. We are symbiotes, if you heat me to death, you will not be able to survive. At this time, Brother Reese was very tormented in the high temperature and high pressure environment. Thin oxygen, huge heat furnace cells that absorb radiation and heat crazily. Even so, his body has gradually reached a critical point. After feeling the huge pressure, the cells in his body frantically conveyed an emotion, that is, he can't stand it, and he is about to explode. Is there really nothing I can do? I, who forced cells to evolve, do I have a tendency to self-abuse? Immediately afterwards, Brother Reese got up trembling all over his body. After experiencing great pain and torture, he saw that his body continued to die and proliferate. After repeating the cycle for an unknown number of times, it seemed that the burning pain was much weaker than before. Phew. Now the body is less intensely hot, and more weak due to lack of nutrition. This is slightly exuding high temperature. The red light scale coat condensed on the surface of Brother Reese, as if a thick layer of red lotus skin-like bone scales had accumulated. System. Due to the huge number of cell death, the host is evolving red lotus geothermal armor. System. During the evolution period, a huge amount of energy is consumed. In order to save energy and survive, the host will fall into a dormant state until the evolution is complete. Suddenly a reminder sounded in his mind, but the weak Brother Reese was unable to respond. He seemed to have passed out from the heat, and fell heavily on the stone pillar above the magma lake. The scales all over his body have long been melted, and the rotting skin is charred and carbonized. His body emits pink water vapor, as if blood is evaporating. But in this extreme environment, Brother Reese's body still made adjustments, and his cells were fighting against the high temperature tenaciously. As if to say, you think you can kill me? Tednik, are you sure you don't want to help it? Now, with his Brother Reese in a coma, the big red dragon Gu Luo Daemon, who is in the underground cave of the magma lake, seems to be unable to restrain himself, and wants to rescue his brother Reese. If you help him now, you are ruining his future. The big rock dragon Tednik snorted, and then whispered in a thunderous noise, Gu Luo Daemon, when did your judgment become so dull? That guy looks bruised, but he is still far from death. Although his breath of life has never been in an endangered state, haven't you discovered that the high temperature heat wave alone can no longer cause effective damage to his body? You mean, he's evolving? How could it be possible in such a short period of time? Before the big red dragon Gu Luo Daemon finished speaking, he was interrupted by the big rock dragon Tednik. You want to say that he is still a young dragon, right? But, have you ever seen such a young dragon? Or, are you underestimating the blood of the Dragon King? Even if Brother Reese really has the genes of his ancestor, the Black Emperor, but, well, if it is really the Black Emperor, the sun-swallowing dragon that fears the gods, maybe there is a possible. The big red dragon Gu Luo Daemon's clenched fists and claws slowly lowered, and the tense giant plan gradually relaxed. Honestly, I am more nervous than you. The big rock dragon Tednik glanced at a big red dragon, and said in a deep voice, but we are all witnessing miracles. The Black Emperor is a miracle, so his descendants must be too. It's just that compared to the dragon that even the gods are afraid of, taboos exist. Brother Reese clearly has different beliefs and he will never go down the same path. That's right, after all, the arrival of the dragon means the arrival of disaster, and it is a symbol of destruction that takes away all life. Only death remains in the places it passes through. Its existence means destruction for many races. Quote. The big red dragon, Gu Luo Daemon, seemed reluctant to mention the name of the Black Emperor. It seemed that until now, that guy had always been a taboo. Keep waiting. Didn't that little guy say that he will become the strongest dragon surpassing the Dragon King? Pain, hot, torn. After undergoing countless times of skin melting and rebirth, Brother Reese's body has been destroyed by the high temperature. The body, dorsal fin, scales, skin, muscles are burned in different situations. Even the dragon's horns showed traces of melting, but although it looked so miserable, it didn't die. On the contrary, the breath of life became stronger. In desperate motion. Countless RNA instructions emanate from the nucleus, commander, and the circular DNA mitochondrial power plant in Reese's body is roaring, providing energy to the giant body all the time. Dense micropipes crisscross, and the protein cells desperately participating in the battle or transporting various nutrients in the capillaries in the body, and they are rushing towards the destination quickly and orderly. And the terrifying, high temperature, is also killing continuously, destroying hundreds of millions, billions or even billions of cells every minute and every second. Most of the mutant dragon cells died tragically in the skin and muscles of the first battlefield, but this line of defense must be defended no matter how fierce it is. If once it is broken by the lava, it can be said that it will lose everything. Although the monster's cells have powerful replication and phagocytosis capabilities, its evolution is not unpleasant, but any evolution has a premise, that is, the core cannot die, and all other cells are thrown into the battlefield. As a cell fused with a monster king in an existence that dominates the top of the biological chain, this ancient mutated dragon gene has long since become very powerful. If it weren't for the external high temperature and high pressure flames that had been killing the epidermal cells, it could have survived without a trace. Restricted division proliferates. The other side. Brother Reese closed his eyes tightly, as if he was having a nightmare, dreaming that he was in the Red Lotus Purgatory. The evolution time is longer than expected, and this is the first time he has encountered such a difficult situation. After all, the orders given by his brother Reese to his body are too extreme, and this is also the first time his body cells have encountered such an extreme environment. Think about it, how have organisms evolved over the past few 100 million years? The advent of natural disasters and mass extinctions one after another eliminated the weak races and allowed the adapted races to survive. Now Brother Reese is going through this situation, either adapt to the high temperature of the lava, or die in the lake of lava. So, is this the command of the host consciousness? The mutant dragon cells that receive the instructions, if they had self-awareness and feelings, might smile wryly at it. But, they are never afraid of sacrifice. Split, split, split again. Grow, grow, grow again. A sea of magma and flames. What is it? Even if it is a natural disaster, as long as the will of the host is not dead, then they will never stop the pace of evolution. When more radiant radioactive energy is incorporated into protein as nutrients, new mutant dragon cells are born one by one. Countless mutated cells began to adapt to the high temperature and high pressure environment. They duplicated themselves crazily, divided and regenerated crazily. Just a few more hours. Brother Reese's burned skin and muscles will start to regenerate one after another, completely conquering the high temperature of the magma, which is their strength. Crackling. The dead horn scales began to detach, and new shoots appeared in the carbonized muscle fibers. The red armor-like bone coat wrapped the body of Brother Reese, allowing it to gradually adapt and resist the high temperature of the magma. Be tempered and reborn from the ashes. The scorched black dragon's eyelids gradually trembled, and Reese's ferocious face eased up, feeling the pain gradually dissipating from his body, and his body was no longer as tense as before. As more and more radioactive energy was absorbed, the mutant dragon cells also evolved corresponding defense measures after experiencing the tragic war. This moment, if Brother Reese could see this scene from the perspective of God, he would be very shocked. His body can survive such a tragic state. Moreover, the Red Lotus geothermal armor has gradually formed, a huge pterosaur monster in the memory of Brother Reese's previous life. Yes, it's a monster called Radon, in the Brother Zong series. It is called the monster forged in the fire, and it has the titles of Fire Demon and Born from the Fire. Radon can survive in volcanoes and bathe in magma. As magma flows through its body, which is covered in rock-like scales, it forms geothermal armor, evolving a camouflage close to that of a volcanic environment. In addition, Radon is also a sky overlord, whose appearance is similar to a huge titan pterosaur with wings spraying sparks. When it flies at hypersonic speed, it can even set off a destructive flame and heat wave. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is the Deathwing that brings destruction. It is extremely domineering. So, at this moment, the remaining flames from the entire lava lake can no longer hurt the Brother Reese, who has reached the end of his evolution. His cells have been tempered by high temperature and become much stronger. During this period of time, the rock platform on the lava lake gradually collapsed, and a lot of magma even submerged Reese's tail. The radiation from the superstar also kept pouring towards its body, nourishing the body and causing the monster's cells to proliferate. The originally strong body became thin and thin due to the death of a large number of cells, but now that the cells have mutated and been strengthened, they also don't need to worry about being killed by the heat. The powerful Red Lotus geothermal armor protects the entire huge cell city, and the mutated dragon cells in the body are no longer lost due to sacrifice because of the comfort of the environment, so they only care about reproduction, resulting in an explosive growth in number. Muscle and bone density are also superimposed crazily, allowing Brother Reese's body mass to grow by leaps and bounds. Originally, it was only nearly 1,000 tons, but now it has changed to nearly 10,000 tons. Originally, it was 29 meters long including the tail, but it was reduced to 22 meters due to cell loss, and after cell mutation, it has now started to grow all the way, breaking through the 35-meter mark, and its weight has soared to 20,000 tons. Even this value has not stopped, because Brother Reese's body cell density is too high. The mutant dragon cells can only choose to stop multiplying, and instead continue to expand the body. Soon, its body length began to grow by leaps and bounds from 35 meters all the way, 40 meters, 45 meters, 50 meters. If the energy is sufficient and time permits, it can continue to sleep for decades, hundreds of years, and evolve to more than 100 meters. But time does not allow him to do so. When the body size is fixed at 52 meters, the amount of radiation that Brother Reese can absorb has already begun to weaken a lot. Coupled with the sudden vibration of the volcano, it suddenly awakened Zero from its slumber and evolution. Did I survive? The giant pupils in the lava slowly opened, and Reese, who was dyed crimson red by the high temperature, slowly stood upright. Now it is about 36 meters tall, 52 meters long, and weighs 36,000 tons. What is this concept for the dragon? Even a normal adult dragon is completely small in front of Reese. Only an existence like the Dragon Mentor can still overwhelm Brother Reese. Of course, in terms of concentrated power essence, although body size does not mean everything, a large body definitely means a higher growth limit. Roar. With uncontrollable excitement in his throat, Chef Reese roared towards the sky. That huge roar split the surrounding dark clouds, making the sky a frightening purple-red color. Black smoke seemed to rise in the sky, and the intensely red magma was hit by the substantive sound waves, setting off a magnificent sea of flames, and the crimson liquid at 1400 degrees Celsius fell on Brother Reese, but did not convert it at all. The dazzling light emitted by the Red Lotus geothermal armor makes it look like it has undergone a new transformation. In the process of roaring, the atomic furnace in the body also started to run crazily, as if something wanted to burst out from Brother Reese's mouth. Next moment, Brother Reese's dorsal fin also burst out with an extremely strong red light, and at that moment, the uncontrollable exhalation flashed red light in his mouth. Roar, burning breath, uranium energy hotline. Brother Reese breathed into the sky. The dorsal fin had already turned blood red. The temperature was extremely high, and even produced high-temperature lightning in the form of red-hot energy. In an instant, a laser-like hotline pierced through the pitch-black clouds with a high temperature exceeding tens of millions of degrees. When the red light beam illuminated the Dragon Island, and the breath-containing powerful destructive energy penetrated the atmosphere and sank into the end of the sky, the giant dragons on the entire island let out panicked roars. They raised their heads in fear and looked up at the sky. It was clear that the dark clouds were collapsing, and lightning-like lights flashed in the clouds from time to time. No, that was a more dazzling and terrifying light than lightning. It seems that the whole sky is constantly falling into the abyss of hell. But when they saw the direction coming from the location of Red Dragon's lair, the giant dragons subconsciously thought it was the great red dragon Gu Luodaemon roaring, suppressed their inner nervousness and guessed that it was some blind man. The dragon accidentally angered the old man. Only the big red dragon Gu Luodaemon, who suddenly opened his eyes in the cave of the lava lake, knew in his heart that the breath was definitely not erupted by it. In other words, is it Brother Reese? This is, so far, my strongest breath. Brother Reese, who had evolved a terrifying body, looked at the scene in front of him in shock. The suffocating heat wave is attacking here. Feeling the high temperature and heat waves blowing against its face, it was dumbfounded. Accompanied by the rise of the lava, the high heat waves brushed over the domineering black muscles and the ferocious dorsal fin covering Reese's body. But it seemed unmoved, completely affected by the breath explosion. The scope and power are astounding. As this, the power of breathing far exceeds its imagination. Brother Reese almost couldn't restrain the excitement in his heart and turned into a roar. At the moment just now, it didn't hesitate at all. As if it came from instinct, it vented the pain and torment it had suffered in the volcano these days, and the body converted the energy it usually accumulated through the atomic furnace to generate muscles. Chain reaction. Thus, in the roar full of anger, the dorsal fin cracked, and the full power output completed the exhalation of the uranium energy hotline. This destructive power is too exaggerated. Is this the radiating heat? Is this the atomic breath of the future? The head-to-toe fear makes all the creatures around, even Reese himself, trembling. Look down. The majestic body is as awe-inspiring as the pitch-black 10,000-year-old fur. It looks like a pitch-black giant dragon with well-developed hind limbs and an upright spine. The invincible Excalibur is exuding a chilling light. In addition, the thick horny bone scales covering the body are exuding high temperature, and the atomic furnace in the chest emits a dazzling red light through the gaps in the scales, distorting the air around it. It looks majestic and majestic, revealing a strange and terrifying arrogance. Even so, due to the sudden increase in the temperature of the core, the skin of the huge chest cavity seemed to be melted by the high temperature, and the outline of the heart of the atomic furnace was faintly visible, which was still beating strongly, although there was a risk of going berserk due to the loss of temperature control at any time. But at this time, the elder brother Reese gave people a terrible feeling of destruction. Just watching this scene was already trembling with fear. There is no sense of the sacred, no sense of the mystical sublime. All low-level creatures only have almost instinctive fear and awe for the giant dragon in front of them. It can be said that terror creates strength. As a mutant black dragon, Brother Reese, just the appearance and size of the shock is enough to overwhelm everyone. Such a powerful creature has an extraordinarily calm heart. This is the power I deserve, and I bought it with my life and suffering. The future king of monsters. Brother Reese. The black figure of the Optimus Pillar, whose whole body was pitch black, slowly raised his head at this moment, and once again let out a huge roar that resounded through the sky. Roar. It raised its head, roared, and slowly opened its arms, as if announcing something. After gaining power, Brother Reese no longer has any complaints in his heart, he just feels much better than the muddle-headed life before. But it doesn't matter if you face more cruel trials or more difficult evolutions. Brother Reese must do his best to survive, pass the trial, hone his will, and make himself stronger. Having said that, but one thing it always remembers. That is what the big blue dragon instructor said, when the power suddenly increases, the psychology will bring about negative changes. I hope you will not abuse this power to cause damage. No matter what you used to be. But now Reese just needs to keep in mind that he is a dragon. The future is still a dragon. He will not abuse power, he will make power his slave. This will never change. Just when Brother Reese was immersed in the joy of evolution. I don't know if its roar and breath woke up the sleeping, old guy, near the lava volcano. When the dark clouds split open, a high-heat destruction track with a width of tens of meters and a length of more than 10 kilometers appeared in the sky after. Boom, boom, thunderous footsteps came, due to the earthquake. There was no other sound at this moment, even the boiling sound of molten lava was covered by that monster-like roar. Hey, Gu Luo Daemon, you still let the dragon sleep, is there something wrong with your brain, and you suddenly become nervous at this time, eh? You are not Gu Luo Daemon. An extremely terrifying head with a huge body, with ferocious giant horns on its head and majestic and huge fangs extending from its lower jaw, possessing an overwhelming power comparable to that of the great red dragon Gu Luo Daemon. An old dragon with annual ring-like patterns emerging from its metallic scales appeared. Those huge pupils like lanterns stared at Brother Reese full of surprise and slight hostility as if seeing a stranger. Who are you? Where is Gu Luo Daemon again? Brother Reese looked cautiously at the unexpected visitor who suddenly appeared in front of him, an ancient dragon. The opponent's huge body can crack the ground just by stomping his feet. His whole body is covered with a solid silver-white metal carapace. There are ferocious huge horns on his head, and majestic and huge fangs extending from his lower jaw. Although he looks too bulky and not good at flying, there is a huge amount of energy in its body, as if it can use the terrifying breath to easily destroy the invaders. Inheritance of memory told Brother Reese that the existence in front of him is a special subspecies of the Mind Dragon family, which belongs to the tungsten dragon species among metal dragons. Tungsten, one of the hardest metals. It has the highest tensile strength, high density and high melting point, 3,400 degrees Celsius. The high melting point of this metal makes the tungsten dragon family very powerful in destruction and defense, but the only disadvantage is that it is too hard and not tough enough, which makes it a bit brittle, and it is easily damaged when it hits. Like the rock dragon family, the natural enemy is the crazy dragon species. And the old tungsten dragon in front of me has a terrifying aura. It possesses an overwhelming power comparable to that of the great red dragon Gu Luo Daemon. It is covered in steel-like exoskeleton armor. It can be seen that the combat experience is full of similar patterns. Tungsten Dragon is not only superior in defense, but also has terrifying attack power. Moreover, they have very violent tempers, strong sense of territory, and cannot tolerate the disturbance of other creatures. No matter how big or small the opponent is, they will be violently attacked. But don't worry too much, the old dragons that can appear in Jesserand are usually the mentors of the young dragons, and the old tungsten dragon in front of you is obviously the mentor of the metal dragon. Sorry to bother you, Master Kaistar. Brother Reese flipped through the inheritance memory, and called out the other party's name. You know me, but I don't remember you, and I haven't seen you among the adult dragons on this island. But the old tungsten dragon armor star didn't give his brother Reese a good face, obviously he regarded his brother Reese as an adult dragon. But since you are here in Gu Luo Daemon, you must be its student. Old tungsten dragon armor star said this, looked at his brother Reese, and was full of interest in its strong body. Yes, my name is Gao. Come and fight with me. The old tungsten dragon interrupted the black dragon exuding red flames, causing Reese to frown. Isn't that bad? Brother Reese looked at the body of the old tungsten dragon that was a circle larger than his own. The other party was not as strong and slender as himself. Maybe he was taller than the old tungsten dragon when he stood upright, but the old tungsten dragon's body it is very big, coupled with the metal exoskeleton armor, the weight is estimated to exceed itself. Come on, I'll let you make the first move. But seeing the fighting spirit of the old tungsten dragon, Brother Reese knew that what he said was useless, so he had no choice but to enter the fighting state. Then, use your tail blade to sweep with all your strength. In the next second, a roar of thunder erupted from the feet of Brother Reese, and the 36,000-ton giant body rushed towards the direction of the old tungsten dragon. At the moment of approaching, all the power was concentrated on the tail, the dorsal fin at the tip of the tail and the back connected to everything. It turned into a terrifying sword that split everything, and slammed towards the body of the old tungsten dragon with a destructive force that surpassed the speed of sound. Boom, clang, boom, the atmosphere was exploding. When the tail blade swept and hit the old tungsten dragon's body, the surrounding air trembled violently. The terrible shock wave caused the nearby magma to set off huge waves of high temperature, and the old tungsten dragon's arms blocking in front of him also there was a terrible sound of metal shattering. Hiss, what a powerful force. Surprisingly, the old tungsten dragon's body was only repelled a few steps, and dense cracks appeared on the thickly armored dragon arms. Other than that there were no major injuries. Brother Reese looked at the shattered scale armor of the old tungsten dragon. It was obvious that the opponent could not withstand his full tail flick and was directly broken. Am I that good? Brother Reese was shocked in his heart, but luckily the old Wulong resisted. If this old guy with osteoporosis was beaten and disabled by himself, wouldn't he just hang on? However, the sharp sound produced by the sudden metal friction made Brother Reese's pupils shrink sharply. In front of him, the metal exoskeleton armor of the old tungsten dragon's shattered arms grew again at a speed visible to the naked eye, but this time it was no longer thick scales, but many disorderly intersecting scales like metal thorns appeared. It is in a counterattack state. Are you surprised? Although you heard me, I am a powerful tungsten dragon. When any metal dragon is hurt, it can catalyze the power in its body, allowing the broken scales and sharp blades to quickly regenerate. The old tungsten dragon growled in a low voice, as if talking about something insignificant. In Brother Reese's inheritance memory, it is indeed mentioned that metal dragons can use parts of their bodies as weapons. They eat ores containing metals for a long time, and they have spare storage bags in their bodies, which can break parts of their bodies in emergencies. Rebirth. The regenerated sharp scales of the old tungsten dragon can be seen to be hot red with the naked eye, but after the scales grow out, they cool down at an extremely fast speed, and then become very hard, looking like their arms are full of divine swords. Very sharp. Although tungsten is very brittle, its sharpness as a giant sword can easily cut through dragon scales and skin. Brother Reese did not choose to confront the old tungsten dragon head-on, but immediately took a step back and distanced himself. Mr. Kaistar, I'm going to use breath. Just in case, remind the other party first. After Brother Reese finished speaking, his body glowed with a fiery red light. In addition, the atomic furnace in the chest emits a dazzling red light through the gaps in the cracked scales, and the dorsal fin flickers to condense the dazzling red light, which is the performance of the air being heated. The naked eye can see the high temperature fluctuations like laser particle clusters condensed in Brother Reese's mouth. Hey, uranium energy hotline. Suddenly, a huge roar resounded through the entire dark night sky. A red light beam, like a laser-like hotline, carried a high temperature of 100,000 degrees, and shot towards the direction of the old tungsten dragon in a destructive attitude, even producing red energy like high-temperature lightning in the air. He actually said hello in advance. What a polite guy. However, I dare not accept this terrible breath. Wind King roar high-pressure air gunner. I saw the huge old tungsten dragon slamming on the ground with its strong hind limbs, lifting its forelimbs, and supporting its weight with its hind feet. Surrounded by air currents, it spewed out a powerful wind pressure cannon. At the moment when Brother Reese, uranium energy hotline, struck, the terrifying wind pressure cannon forcibly changed the direction of the laser beam of uranium energy hotline, causing the breath to avoid the body of the old tungsten dragon abruptly, piercing through to the volcanic boulder behind. Boom, like the sky thunder, the air explodes. At that moment, the torrent of blazing red light spit out from Brother Reese's mouth penetrated the dark night sky, turning the sky into day. The volcanic rock that was hit instantly melted and exploded, and the terrifying high temperature of 100,000 degrees caused the object to expand like a bubble, followed by a mushroom cloud like a nuclear explosion. An area about half a kilometer away was instantly destroyed by the breath. How can it be? The brother Reese was shocked. He opened his mouth wide, and never thought that his breath would hit the plaque. No, it was changed direction by the wind pressure air cannon issued by the old tungsten dragon, but even so, the high temperature flames didn't even hurt its scales, right? At this time, Brother Reese found that a violent black air current like a storm was suddenly wrapped around the old tungsten dragon. The inheritance memory in his mind told him that the old tungsten dragon was exuding a kind of substantial coercion. Reese had the illusion that he was so overwhelmed by the opponent's pressure that he dared not move. Nice job. But too young, Gao Reese. Huh, teacher, you just called my name. Brother Reese was keenly aware of something. Huh, is that right? Ha ha ha, you really have a keen sense of smell, as Guru Damon said. That's right, I will be your next combat mentor, and I will replace Tadnik and Guru Damon next. Teach you the true roar of the dragon. Where are Mr. Tadnik and Guru Damon? Brother Reese looked into the lava lake at this time, but found that there was no breath of the two giant dragons below. Boy, do you know how long you have been asleep? The old tungsten dragon said in a deep voice, it's been 4 months. You have been sleeping for 4 full months, and Tadnik and Guru Damon have already left. What? Brother Reese was shocked, and then looked at his body. No wonder the evolution rate is so large, it seems that he has been sleeping for too long. During your deep sleep, Tadnik put the huge magic stone beside you, so that you can always get energy replenishment. Guru Damon calmed down the fluctuation of the lava, making the volcano in a stable state. Otherwise, depending on your body, you may have exhausted your energy before completing the evolution, or be burned to ashes by high temperature and pressure. The old tungsten dragon snorted, and then said reluctantly, I have guarded you until now, to ensure that your life will not be in danger. I just didn't expect you to ignore my existence the first thing after waking up. How rude to yell at the sky. Feel sorry. Brother Reese was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that old tungsten dragon was still a Tsunere. But he was very curious about where Tadnik and Guru Damon went. Well, where did the mentors go? Could it be that they abandoned me? Brother Reese hurriedly asked. ... This question, quote. The old tungsten dragon fell silent suddenly. It moved its giant body to look into the distance, and said, do you know the nearest King Killer? King Killer, what is that? Brother Reese shook his head, as if he didn't understand what the old tungsten dragon said. I don't know, but it's not important. You don't need to understand this matter, that kind of guy doesn't matter. In short, Guru Damon and Tadnik are assisting the apostles to deal with this matter, but don't worry, when the dragon battle comes, the two of them will come back with the Dragon King's apostles. The old tungsten dragon explained casually, seeming to sneer at that, King Killer. I see. Brother Reese nodded. Since this matter had nothing to do with him, he didn't think too much about it. Then, Teacher Kaistar, you will teach me, Dragon's Roar, next. Oh, you have to be mentally prepared, I am very strict. And just like that, for the last remaining months, Brother Reese and the old tungsten dragon armor star started combat training. It's just that he didn't know that the recent news of King Killer on Long Island was cloudy, giving people a very depressing feeling. King Killer, literally, a dragon so arrogant that he dared to assassinate the Dragon King. Chapter 71. Uranium Energy Hotline, also known as Super Flame Hotline and Red Hotline. The hotline is a hotline after the fusion of lightning incandescent light with ultra-high heat energy. The temperature is 100,000 degrees. When it is ejected, it can burn the surrounding atmosphere, cracks the ground and thermally expands, burning its contents. It should be noted that when using the red-hot wire, there will be danger signals beyond the body limit of the Reese dragon, such as the white smoke coming out of the mouth of Reese. It is because the high temperature makes its mouth begin to melt. The burden on the body is also quite large, so it cannot be fired for a long time. That was in the distant past. The competition in the Dragon Island, Jesseland, is far more intense than it is now. During this period, there were 2 new generation dragon kings who were brave and good at fighting, and one of them was the Black Emperor, Mirabeau Reese. The body of the Black Emperor, Mirapo Reis, is a supergiant black dragon with a length of more than 100 meters. When its wings are spread out, it can cover the entire sky, just like nightfall. He used to be one of the only 8 extreme dragons in the entire world, and he was the most destructive one among the known extreme dragons. The black flames could wipe out all the matter in the world. He is beyond fate, unaffected by fate. Any divination and foresight spells have no effect on him. He is also unaffected by fear, confusion, and will break down, and even soul attacks cannot affect him. In the world of this era, there are constant scuffles between various races and plagues are rampant. It can be said to be a dark period of turmoil and devastation. People of all ethnic groups living in dire straits are eagerly looking forward to the arrival of heroes. They hope that real brave men can drive away disasters and bring long-lost peace to the mainland. The hero didn't come, but the Black Emperor came. Like the Black God of Death, he gradually became the destroyer of everything in the world. Desperation, ferocity, domineering, majesty and destruction, the horrible sense of suffocation, the incarnation of destruction is approaching. Wherever he goes, raging sparks will ignite everywhere. As far as he looks, the sky will be filled with the smoke of war. The water that he drinks will also be filled with the taste of blood. But even so, he wouldn't stop. The world called him a tyrant. After several months of burning, the day disappeared and night finally fell, the fire was extinguished, and the charred bones fell, which meant the end of the war. On that day, there was miraculous peace among the various races. For the proud guys who have been robbed of all their dignity by the Black Emperor, it is difficult to accept this fact. In this case, there is only one answer left: the Black Emperor is the key to world peace. The cry of the soul that was suppressed in the flames. In fact, it is a soul song to welcome the birth of the new Dragon King. When the requiem sounds again, he gained glory through war and repression. However, no one would have imagined that the hundreds of years of rule by the Emperor of Black, who has always been known for his brutality, turned out to be the most stable and harmonious period on the mainland. But the long time is enough to dilute the satisfaction brought by the rule. When ambition triumphs over satisfaction, disaster and war follow. No one can deny eternal prosperity, and so is the Black Emperor. Hundreds of years of prosperous rule have made the Emperor of Black's ambition reach the pinnacle. In this regard, the Black Emperor felt his desire for power and strength. Many years later, it was another battle. However, this battle is extremely cruel. It is a civil war of the Dragon Clan. In order to unify the Dragon Clan, a Dragon Clan war broke out for nearly 100 years. In this battle, the Black Emperor was targeted by other Dragon Kings, and therefore hated by other Dragon Clans. Their joint siege and crusade brought the Black Emperor to a desperate situation. But also because of this, the Black Emperor met an existence that he never thought he would see. When he was walking towards desperation, he saw that thing in the vast, distorted space-time crack. A thought suddenly flashed in the Emperor of Black's mind: if you use this, you can make yourself extremely powerful. Not only can you gain a wider territory, but you can even drag other Dragon Kings into the water. No one in this world can disobey the great Black Emperor. Driven by ambition, the Black Emperor and his army opened a huge crack that could distort time and space. No one would have thought that that crack was the beginning of the disaster. Dozens of strong demon zones have appeared in the world, connecting the entrances of other planes, pouring into this world one after another. The end is here. The Emperor of Black, caught in desire and ambition, did not realize the target behind the dimensional rift. What the Black Emperor ushered in was not a world waiting to be conquered by him, but an alien invader armed to the teeth. If it weren't for the heroic and dedicated spirit of the most elite dragon warriors, it is estimated that the history of the Dragon Clan would have come to an end. The strongest combat power of the Dragon Clan, the leader of the Black Dragons, the Black Emperor, was also seriously injured. In this context, the world is in chaos, and the Dragon Clan begins to split. Although the heroic sacrifices of the giant dragons successfully stopped the invaders from the other world, they could not stop the collapse of the Black Emperor's dynasty. No one can stop the torrent of history. No matter how prosperous the world is created, the resentment of the victims cannot be eliminated. The Black Emperor, who overthrew multiple regimes, also has sworn vendettas with other races. The dragons no longer fight for the same leader, but stick to their own justice under the banner of different dragon kings. Since then, the Black Emperor has become a taboo official. That period of history was also deliberately concealed by the Dragon Clan. In order to avoid the situation of one family being dominant again, after the death of the Dragon King, the other dragon clans split into 12 dragon kings, each guarding a territory. This is true now, and it will be true in the future. But even so, one thing must never be forgotten. The Black Emperor was once the best king. He had made outstanding contributions and brought peace to the world. Although this happened under the regime of the Black Emperor, who is known for his brutality, it seems a bit ironic. However, the whereabouts of the Black Emperor's body are unknown. Some believe he is long dead, others that he was exiled beyond a warped rift in time and space. To this day, there are still a small number of giant dragons and aliens who worship the Black Emperor, active on the mainland, and have established the Black Sun, Yang, religion. This group of distorted pagans are constantly trying to invade the cracks in time and space, imagining that one day in the future, they will be able to return the emperor they are looking forward to. But for most sane people, the Black Emperor is dead. This is an ironclad fact. Dragon Island, volcanic zone. Boom. With a loud bang, raindrops of flames fell from the sky, and the lava was also thrown up. Huge footprints appeared on the ground where the ashes were piled up. In the picture, a pitch-black giant dragon standing upright on two legs collided violently with a silver-white metal old dragon, bringing up a slanting shadow and fighting non-stop. Backquote. Boom. Boom. The constant hand-to-hand combat between them caused the deafening sound to fill the world. Brother Reese. Yes, what's the matter? Brother Reese, who was fighting, panted, and asked the old tungsten dragon armor star who still had more strength. Who gave you the name Mirabeau Reese? The old tungsten dragon armor star suddenly asked. Of course, my father. Brother Reese's tail turned into a sharp blade and swept away. The next moment he was blocked by the steel fist of the old tungsten dragon. As the metal fragments splashed in the air, the flickering strong light shone on his face. Is it Leonard? The old tungsten dragon armor star said in a deep voice, and the lotus claw counterattacked. What's wrong with the name? Brother Reese backed away sharply, avoiding the severing claws of the old tungsten dragon armor star. This name reminds me of a certain important figure in history, but that was a long time ago, so long that it can be ignored. It is estimated that there are not many young dragons in the Dragon Clan who remember this name right now. That's really a pity. By the way, didn't my father just make up his name randomly? Looking at him, it seems that he doesn't know anything about this ancestor. It's impossible to make up random Wang Jiao Jiao, and there are many descendants of the Black Emperor, but it is also possible that your father Leonard heard of this name from somewhere. However, this name is not very well, it may cause trouble for you in the future. Trouble? Could it be that this is a heinous name? It's scarier than that, but it doesn't matter, the name is just a code name. However, it's best not to publicize this name before you become stronger. Why? Brother Reese asked a little puzzled. Quote. The King Killer that has been circulated recently is said to be a fanatical admirer of the Black Emperor. It is now, and it will likely be in the future. If it knows that there is a dragon that inherits this name, it may come to find it your trouble. The old tungsten dragon armor star seemed to say intentionally or unintentionally, but it was not afraid. But don't worry, Kingslayer shouldn't dare to come to Dragon Island. If it dares to come, it doesn't need the Dragon King's apostle to take action. All the dragons in the entire Dragon Island, we will attack it together. Even so, I don't want my name to be missed by bad guys. Poor Leonard. That stupid old man actually gave himself such a dangerous name. It seems that he has to be careful in the future. After hearing the old tungsten dragon's explanation, Brother Reese cursed angrily in his heart. 2 months later, clatter clatter, on an empty volcanic rock, a 36-meter-tall black dragon stood opposite to another huge silver dragon. The dark clouds in the sky covered the originally clear sunshine, and under the cover of black smoke, the high-temperature fire rain kept hitting the two dragons. Roar! At a certain moment, the smaller black dragon let out a roar. Immediately afterwards, the muscles of the black dragon's whole body were tense, and its tail was raised high in an instant, as if it was showing what real power is. Power, and rushed towards the front violently. Boom! The next moment, Brother Reese's feet exploded with strength, and the surrounding rock formations were destroyed and shaken violently. The ground cracked and shattered under his terrifying force, and his whole body shot out like a sharp arrow with the help of this force, at a speed of 1 second. More than 100 meters. Boom, boom, boom. The loud roar of the earth became more and more intense. Reese sprinted with all his strength, and all the obstacles he encountered along the way were knocked into the air. During his running, the boiling magma in the lava lake rose one after another, setting off more than 10 meters of huge waves. He ran in a straight line towards the silver dragon in front of him, leaving huge deep footprints and broken volcanic rock formations. Reese's figure almost appeared after him. His stride was about tens of meters. When running at full speed, the sound of the sonic boom sounded crazily, and the tail part even threw out a sonic boom cloud. Suddenly, Brother Reese slammed on the brakes and stopped in front of the silver dragon. His huge figure stopped in a stiff posture, his tail slowly lowered, and his whole body stopped slowly. I saw that the old tungsten dragon armor star didn't do nothing, and a violent black airflow like a storm was wrapped around his body. The silver dragon exudes a kind of substantial coercion at all times. It is in the face of this powerful coercion that Brother Reese has to stop his movements, and instinctively produces a feeling that he is so intimidated by the target that he dare not move at will. Illusion. Mentor, this move is too foul. This is clearly control skills. Looking at the silver dragon in front of him, Brother Reese roared loudly. Brother Reese, you have to learn to control your coercion in order to use dragon's roar reasonably. Quote. The silver dragon slowly opened its eyes. When the raindrops of magma were about to fall, they were blown away by the black wind on its body. Even the black smoke couldn't get close to it, so that the surrounding flames bypassed it. Beside him, he looked inexplicably domineering. Why does the long way you mentioned seem so gangster? Brother Reese stood on his legs, folded his hands and looked directly at the old tungsten dragon armor star and said, looking at him, he seemed to have no sense of the magma fire rain on his body. Domineering. This is the first time I've heard of this word, but Brother Reese, coercion is an invisible and insubstantial existence. You have a talent that can be called outstanding among the dragon clan. Your dragon power is currently only exploding because of the high emotion, you can't retract it freely, so you can't learn dragon's roar. Quote. I don't want to be a pirate in the future. Well, what you said is reasonable, so how can I control this dragon's coercion? Hearing the old tungsten dragon armor star's remarks, Brother Reese smiled wryly and nodded, while controlling his still tense body while slowly approaching. No, I'm just telling a fact. Brother Reese, your qualifications are far stronger than those of the young dragon kings of the new generation, and this is what I, the tungsten dragon armor, approve of. Fact. Boom. Accompanied by a roar, a turbulent pillar of lava jumped up, illuminating the serious face of the old tungsten dragon armor star bathed in the twisting waves of fire, and also illuminating the stunned face of Brother Reese. My talent surpasses that of the Dragon King. Brother Reese lowered his head and muttered to himself. But isn't this a matter of course? He secretly thought in his heart that although he had the help of monster cells, he did it with his own life. Aha! Seeing Brother Reese's appearance, the old tungsten dragon armor star nodded in satisfaction. The young Shalong should have confidence. Long Way has 4 stages, the lower rank, the middle rank, the 10th rank, and the peak. The dragon mentor began to popularize the strength of Long Way. But in fact, Brother Reese has already been flipping through the memory of the inheritance, and the voice of the big blue dragon mentor also seems to sound in his mind. The most basic level of Long Way is still in the passive stage, bursting out due to the high emotion. This is easy to understand. When a wild tiger roars angrily, even a human being without training will tremble with weak feet. This is a biological instinct. The awe and fear of beasts since the beginning of time. This is coercion. Among the high-ranking human beings, even if the emperor of the empire sits silently on the dragon chair, the look in his eyes is enough to make ordinary people kneel down and dare not look directly at him. Like Brother Reese, he is such a 36-meter-high, 50-meter-long pitch-black giant dragon. Even if he is standing there, the weak will tremble involuntarily. And when Brother Reese roars due to anger and other emotions, the weak enemies will even be frightened and fainted, and become mentally disturbed. However, if it is a group of terrifying upright apes who have been bathed in blood all year round and experienced many battles, and call themselves adventurers, maybe they will only tremble in their hearts, and then draw their swords and towers with screams. After all, the terrifying upright apes who call themselves adventurers are different from other ordinary upright apes. They are used to the days of licking blood, and when they see baby dragons, their eyeballs will glow, because the dragons are full of treasures. I can't wait to strip away all the cells and tissues to build armor equipment for myself. But Brother Reese is full of strong radiation and terrifying mutant dragon cells. If an adventurer really wears the armor made of Brother Reese body parts, he may be demonized within a few days, suffer from a curse called dragon disease, and then mutate into a dragon demon, dominated by wildness and instinct. People will be chopped. Of course, the above are all hypotheses. When a normal person sees such a tall dragon, like Reese, he probably would have run away in fright. A dragon of this size can only be fought against by human beings with an elite army of more than 100 people. And there must be magicians, alchemy bombs, and various deadly traps. Back to the topic. Longwei in the middle position can use his own will to control freely. With the growth of age and the improvement of mental strength, dragons can usually control and coerce according to their own will after they become adults. When released, it will radiate powerful coercion centered on the released dragon to the surroundings. If it is too weak, it will be stunned and lose consciousness. This point can be seen during the training of the young dragon. It took us a month to get within 10 meters of the big red dragon Gu Luo Daemon. However, the coercion of the big red dragon is greater than that of ordinary adult dragons, reaching the upper coercion of the third stage. High-ranking Longwei can destroy the enemy with coercion. As mentioned above, Longwei is a kind of real damage, which can cause magic, physical and spiritual damage at the same time. A true overlord with both mind, skill and body, just by virtue of his aura, he can make the full range of pressure cover any area, it can be said to be activated at any time, and his eyes can make the enemy frightened. Its oppressive force can shake the ground, overwhelm the sky, shake the atmosphere, and split the dark clouds. Even a battle-hardened soldier will fall to the ground with a crash. There are only two kinds of existence that can resist this coercion: human warriors with sufficient physical fitness, and magicians' shields. Only the Dragon King, and some extreme dragons, can achieve the peak of Longwei. At this stage, the dragon's prestige has been materialized, and it can be wrapped around dragon scales, sharp claws, dragon horns, and even breath, which can improve the individual's defense power, turn it into an invisible armor, and even increase the attack power. Although it sounds like armed domineering, the difference is still very big. These substantive coercive windings will cause an irreversible and devastating blow to the wound when it hurts the enemy. It can inhibit the enemy's cell regeneration, and even healing magic will fail. In addition, it can also be turned into an active attack skill. Longwei shows different attribute colors and causes external damage to the enemy. For example, the dragon wings set off a black storm, and the dragon claws flickered with meteor fire. Swooping high in the sky is like riding a strong wind, and so on. Mr. Kaistar, what stage are you in? Could it be that you have already reached the peak state? Brother Reese looked up and asked. I just know how to use some skills, and I'm still in the top peak realm. I don't have a strong body like the extreme dragon or the Dragon King, so that's my upper limit. So coercion is also related to physical strength. Of course, if you are weak enough, then in the eyes of others, your coercion will not only not be scary, but also cute. No wonder. Brother Reese nodded. It seems that coercion is also used to measure the strong. Brother Reese, although I really don't want to admit it, your coercion has reached the upper level under my observation during this period. But because you are too immature, you still can't control your coercion. However, after talking with after I've been fighting for so long, you can feel how I let go. The old tungsten dragon armor star nodded, and said to his brother Reese, try it, concentrate your pressure on the roar, and send it out for a try. The roar of the dragon. Brother Reese nodded, and then faced the direction of the lava lake. The voice of the old rock dragon Tadnik emerged in his mind. The roar that can push the magma away must require extremely strong physical fitness, a very large lung capacity, and a strong enough will and emotion. If the magma lake is a thing or guy that you hate the most. Brother Reese gradually brewed anger in his heart, then tried to concentrate his strength, took a deep breath, and let out a huge roar towards the lava lake. Roar. All of a sudden, Dragon's roar spouts thin flesh from its open mouth and the air vibrates, everything it touches collapses in an instant, and the magma lake is pushed away abruptly in an instant, creating a vacuum field, showing access to the lava cave at the bottom. Since the attack trajectory of Dragon's roar is in a straight line, the surrounding environment has not been destroyed, and it has not caused the explosion of hotline bombardment, but the coercion of the dragon seems to stagnate the air, preventing the magma from flowing back for a long time, as if there is an invisible the momentum oppressed it. Great job, Brother Reese. Come on down. Tidnik and Guru Damon left graduation gifts for you down there. Speaking of this, the old tungsten dragon armor star turned around and looked into the distance. Also, Brother Reese, your training is over here. I'm sorry I couldn't leave you. What important gift, I just taught you everything I know. Thank you so much. But, Master Kaistar, where are you going? Brother Reese suddenly looked at the old tungsten dragon with its wings outstretched with some reluctance, watching its huge wings roar and rise into the sky. Brother Reese, you haven't left Dragon Island yet. With your current strength, it's enough to go outside for a while. Wait a month before the end of the dragon battle and meet the dragon. After Wong Apostle, let's try to be independent. With your ability, I believe you can do better. However, the old tungsten dragon armor star did not respond to Brother Reese, but said calmly, as if looking at an apprentice who has successfully graduated from the teacher, there is only a touch of joy in its eyes. Yes, I will. Brother Reese's eyes were extremely firm, responding to the instructor's approval. Well, aldehydes. In the end, the giant wings shook, and Brother Reese also raised his head to watch the old tungsten dragon who manipulated the black storm and wore the inviolable armor, disappeared into the sky, and there seemed to be something in the distance. Things beckon to it and have to go. The trial is over. From the mentor of the big blue dragon, I learned the eye of destroying demons, that can see through all magic, the explosion of dragon blood to generate magic dispelling pulse, and the black lightning that awakens endless thunder energy. Learn the roar of the dragon, from the mentors of Dianlong, Dahonglong and Dadinglong, evolved a strong body and Red Lotus geothermal armor, and knew how to control your own body. The pressure of the dragon. So, it's time to head down the lava cave to check out the graduation gifts left by the two mentors before they left. With a touch of expectation, Brother Reese disappeared step by step into the lake of lava and fire. Gradually reached the deepest point. Gululu. Huge breath bubbles rolled in the lava. Crash. The sound of the crimson 1400-degree high-temperature liquid surging along with the waves rose and fell on the 10 black dragons. Its dorsal fin is destroyed in the lava like a sharp sword, and the magma also flows and falls along the Red Lotus geothermal armor on its back. But he didn't care. Along the lava river, Reese headed all the way towards the bottom of the dragon's lair, in the direction of the majestic black cave. The specific location of the lava cave is below the magma lake, but part of the cave at the bottom of the lake is an underwater air pocket, and there is air in the cave at the bottom of the lake. Moreover, many of the rocks in this zone belong to the mantle material. To get there, one must pass through a trail of volcanic bones, a road of high temperature and high pressure, or a road of destruction. If you don't have any skills, this level alone will trap many people to death. But Brother Reese is not afraid. He is silent, walks in the passage without sound and whispers. He closes his breath, uses the skin and cells to pump the outside oxygen into the blood vessels. Here is the radiation from the inside of the volcano. Only these powers can restore the stamina consumed by Brother Reese in the battle not long ago. Mantle material, iron meteorites, magma. The pressure, temperature, and hot tunnels of each circle constitute obstacles. Only Brother Reese can break through this road. Yes, the big red dragon Gu Luodaemon left him the final test. Only the highest temperature and the hardest rock can pass. Grinding his dorsal fin, bone and stone become one, and the magma is the boiling blood in his body. Gradually, Brother Reese's nose moved, as if he smelled something unusual, and the radiation-sensitive organs in his body gradually responded. Here we are, the lair of the great red dragon. Sensing the presence of air, Reese emerged from the lava tunnel, climbed upwards, entered the hollow of the volcano, and landed. Boom, boom. As the ground vibrated slightly, Brother Reese stood upright in the relatively wide cave, stepped on footsteps as if the earth was shaking, dragged his tail on the ground and walked tens of meters, and arrived at a place that seemed to be covered with hot red transparent crystals. Those are dragon crystals of the fire element, derived minerals from the habitat of red dragons. Interesting. Brother Reese bent down at this time, picked up a few red crystals, and crushed them into powder in the palm of his hand. The red fire elemental powder was instantly ignited due to high pressure, and disappeared into flames in midair, but part of the magic power was absorbed by Brother Reese's skin, adding to him the weak fire element affinity of Reese. I hope Gu Luo Damon's gift is not these seemingly useless fire element crystals. Although these things are not the stool of the rock dragon clan like the demon resistance gold. But for the red dragons who are good at fire attributes and the blue dragons who are good at water attributes, the magic barrier is similar to the sweat volatilization on their bodies, and the old dirt accumulated from the traces of magic elements exhaled by breathing all the year round. Pulp mill stuff. Brother Reese flicked his wrist, and swayed the fire element crystal dust. He didn't know that he would settle in a certain place in the future, and what derivatives would appear around him. Maybe it's radiation or, maybe it's an elemental crystal of some kind. Since the magic power is not very abundant, there is a high probability that it is something related to radiation. Well, is this the gift that the great red dragon mentor left for me? Brother Reese continued to move forward and came to a giant dragon rock platform. There is a huge diamond-shaped crystal on it, crimson red, exuding strong flame magic power. Its outline looks like a dragon egg, but it is definitely not the lowest level fire element crystal that grows everywhere nearby. There is no doubt about it, it's a good thing. Ding, you found the Fire Dragon Magic Crystal. Fire Dragon Magic Crystal, it is formed by the eternal fire that has been burning for thousands of years at the core of the fire dragon. Only old dragons over 1,000 years have this kind of crystal, which is a precious companion. After absorbing it, it can greatly increase the affinity of the fire element and increase the temperature of the fire attribute breath. This is. Brother Reese was shocked. He didn't expect Gu Luo Damon to leave him such a precious gift. However, this seems to be the core of a dead fire dragon, and Gu Luo Damon is a red dragon, not dead yet. Even if there is a similar dragon crystal, there is no way to take it out. Perhaps it is a relic of Gu Luo Damon's relatives, friends, comrades. Brother Reese thought of this in his heart, and the hand that touched the fire dragon magic crystal couldn't help trembling. Then he held it tightly, opened his mouth, and swallowed it into his belly. Suddenly, a fiery magic power erupted from the crystal, and soon this hot power poured into the body and the whole body along the blood vessels, and then converged towards the heart of the atomic furnace. Fortunately, Brother Reese mutant dragon cells have already evolved and can fully withstand this force. System, you have absorbed the Fire Dragon Magic Crystal. The temperature of the breathing hotline has increased by 50%, and the maximum temperature of the uranium energy hotline can be increased to 150,000 degrees. Thank you, mentor. You will be my godfather from now on. Who is Leonard? I don't know. Brother Reese was extremely grateful, and it seemed that his cheap wife who was famous for buying had never given him a gift until now. But the mentors, one by one, gave selflessly and gave their precious things to themselves. Maybe they are a little selfish, but more they want to witness the growth of a young dragon with outstanding talent, and want to send fresh blood to the high-end combat power of the dragon clan. Reynard. I really don't blame me, the family is really poor. In the end, it was the graduation gift left by the old rock dragon Ted Nick. Sure enough, as Brother Reese expected, the strong radiation he sensed just now came from this area. Old Yanlong really understood himself, and left himself a rich meal. Ding, you found the enriched uranium cube. At the other end of the stone platform is a radioactive cube with a dull metal appearance, which is constantly releasing a large number of neutron radiation sources. The surface of this cube is full of dense, and it is made of natural enriched uranium, but judging from the traces on it, it is obviously a good thing that the old rock dragon is not willing to eat. It has been kept until today, but unexpectedly it has become a gift for himself. Brother Reese wanted to swallow it in one breath, but considering that he would fall into an evolutionary sleep due to too much energy intake, he thought about it. And the time is limited, it is obviously too wasteful to eat it in one go. This thing is enough for me to enjoy it slowly for at least 2 years. I can store it somewhere in my body and use it as a backup nutrition at critical moments. For example, when I encounter a crisis or desperate situation, I can directly absorb a large amount of radiation, quickly gain energy and restore stamina. Growth can come slowly, but there is only one life-saving thing. Well, let's sleep for a while, and then taste a little bit. Brother Reese still couldn't resist the temptation completely. Anyway, there was still a month before the return of the Dragon King Apostle, so he lay down near the enriched uranium cube, and closed his eyes, quietly absorbing the radioactive elements on it. And in this process, his body cells were overactivated, multiplying and dividing crazily again. Originally, it was 52 meters long including the tail and weighed 36,000 tons. Due to the highly activated cells, it quickly soared to 60 meters, and its height increased to 40 meters. But the point is that its body density has been greatly increased, and its mass has directly reached a terrifying 50,000 tons. Possessing an overwhelming weight, the black dragon is sleeping with its eyes tightly closed. There is no doubt that the combat training some time ago allowed him to exercise extremely strong limbs. Not only does it look significantly developed, but it also has very strong muscle strength, especially the more developed hind legs. The soles of the black dragon's feet are enlarged, and the claws are in the shape of sharp hooks, which are suitable for firmly grasping the ground when moving. Using its strong hind legs to slam on the ground and support its weight on its hind feet, it can display amazing instant explosive power and carry out violent surprise attacks. However, because of the increased weight of the body, Reese dragon wings as a black dragon did not evolve, but were attached to the dorsal fin near the back, forming a mountain like a blade. In addition, the scales and body of the black dragon are constructed from layers of superimposed layers. This structure allows the Reese tough heat-resistant armor shell to expand and contract freely and move freely. But because of the huge body, the total weight of Brother Reese is very scary. Because it is so heavy, even the impact of an average adult dragon cannot shake Snow Reese. In this regard, in order to be able to maintain the movement and even run of this super heavy body outside the specification, the tail with its huge and extraordinary muscular strength has also evolved and become more powerful. This long tail has the function of adjusting the center of gravity and maintaining the balance of the body. When fighting, with its terrifying muscle strength, tens of thousands of tons of tail flicks can be erupted with a flick of the tail, easily killing the enemy. In addition, the tail can also be connected in series with the dorsal fin, turning into a sword-like tail cutting everything. In short, his overall appearance is still extremely ferocious and frightening, and this is also a side effect of not having a full-scale evolution, because only the Brother Reese, who is an adult or even in full body, can be considered perfect in terms of appearance. Well, the hatchlings of most creatures are ugly as babies. Dragons are no exception. All in all, a month passed quickly. When Brother Reese woke up again, he was 40 meters tall and weighed 50,000 tons, walking towards the direction of home. Now his age has come to 2 years old. Lava underground. Boom. With a loud explosion, the gap at the top of the magma that originally blocked the road exploded instantly, and the surrounding lava began to collapse, falling into the lake and causing a large heat wave. Then a black dragon monster got out of it and stood in the middle of the lake of fire. How long have I been asleep? Brother Reese's huge body came out of the lava lake. He looked at the silent volcano around him. Only some creatures like lava crabs and golden turtles were running around. Go out and have a look. Brother Reese turned his head and looked around. After confirming that there was nothing of value left, he rushed towards the edge of the volcano and stood on the highest peak. Overlooking the land, you can have a panoramic view of the northwest canyon of Longdao. Many dragon shadows appeared in front of him, and there were many adult dragons circling above the canyon, but they didn't feel the breath of the big red dragon mentor. It seems that they haven't come back yet. Moreover, there are a few strange and powerful auras on the island, and a strong sense of crisis can be felt even if it is far away. Then it must be the apostles of the Dragon King. The young dragons have not moved. It seems that the battle has not yet started, but since the Dragon King's apostles have come, it means that the time is almost up. Brother Reese suppressed the excitement in his heart and took a deep breath to calm down. He touched the dragon horns on his head. Unlike other black dragons, Reese had 4 horns on top of his head, 2 diverging backwards and 2 diverging upwards. The horns of the dragon clan are not decorations. Some are used to sense magic power, and the horns of Brother Reese are specially made for fighting, extremely hard and sharp. This structure makes his head also become a weapon full of lethality. In addition, the radiation sensing organ of Brother Reese is also on the dragon's horn, and the dragon's horn can distinguish the direction of the radiation source like a radar. 793. Therefore, Reese does not have the concept of getting lost or losing direction. He quickly locked on the location of his home, wondering what was going on at home at this time, whether Miglia and Migway Meow were ready. But how do you go down the mountain? On a giant volcano that is thousands of meters high, Brother Reese poked his head out and looked down. He shook his head as he could not fly. Forget it, just slide the shovel down. On the back of Reese, the dragon wings, which are not proportional to his body size, spread out to act as a buffer to a certain extent. At the same time, the giant tail rubbed against the ground, and his legs ran along the volcano. His speed became faster and faster, and the mass of 50,000 tons also made there was a thunderous quiver from the rim of the volcano. Then, he couldn't stop. Get out of the way. If you are accidentally killed, Benlong will not be responsible. Roar. Brother Reese roared and stomped a thunderous downhill run. Because he was going down the mountain, his pace was about tens of meters when he ran, and his speed per second was already close to the speed of sound, so a rather terrifying picture appeared. Where the Brother Reese passed by, the rocks on both sides were overwhelming avalanches and mudslides appeared on the entire volcano. Continuous explosion sound waves were produced, the sky was darkened, and a large group of cokes slowly fell. Black snow was born. The dense dark clouds on the volcano engulfed a black dragon, which looked very oppressive. It roared wildly, made a sound like people getting out of the way, and approached the forest land with an aura of destruction. Boom, boom, boom. A series of loud noises came from the forest, and the Brother Reese who reached the ground did not stop. To be precise, he couldn't stop at all. The originally peaceful primeval forest was shaken by a series of loud noises. Giant insects flew, herbivores were startled, and even predators fled in all directions. In the forest, the luxuriant giant trees fell down one after another, and the incomparably thick trees were easily broken and destroyed like dead leaves and branches. Boom, boom. Brother Reese's huge body knocked down rows of giant trees, shattered rocks, and after destroying a straight line of damage tens of meters wide and hundreds of meters long, he stabilized his body and stopped. Ha, it finally stopped. Brother Reese turned his head and looked at the virgin forest, which was covered in mess and the trees were broken and fell to the ground. It was as if a huge road had been cleared out of the virgin forest, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Leave now, otherwise, someone should be looking for trouble. Brother Reese knows that this forest is the territory of the green dragons. If they get entangled, it would be a waste of too much time. But at this moment, Brother Reese has a sense of being watched from the shadows. An illusion, he murmured. However, not quite sure. Brother Reese looked around, examining the surrounding environment with thermal radiation vision. But, no need to waste time here. Even if someone observes him, he can't kill someone to silence him. Thinking of this, Brother Reese immediately changed direction and quickly left the forest. I'm back. After a while, Brother Reese approached the holy dragon's lair. When he came back, he felt some vigilant eyes. Many dragon parents carefully protected their children under the dragon's wings and stared nervously at Brother Reese's direction. Their eyes seemed to be looking at some dangerous person, as if Brother Reese is not returning in triumph but a terrible criminal released from prison. However, Brother Reese ignored these dragon parents, and his purpose was not here anyway. It's me, Shah Reese is back. After finding no response in the cave, Brother Reese raised his head and called out his name into the cave. Big Brother. Accompanied by a long sound, a white dragon shadow quickly ran out from the depths of the cave, and then jumped into the air, rushing in the direction of Brother Reese. Boom. However, looking at the petite figure flying in front of him, Brother Reese just silently moved a short distance to the side, carefully retracted his sharp claws, and caught the opponent with his wrist. Way-ya, this is very dangerous. Don't jump on me casually. I'm afraid I'll hurt you accidentally. Big Brother, I'm very strong now, and my body is also very strong. If I hit you directly, I'll get hurt. Brother Reese sighed helplessly, looked at Migvia who was only the size of his arm and said, Brother, you have grown so big. In front of Brother Reese, Migvia opened her eyes wide, while lying on his arm, she said to Brother Reese, I feel okay, but Wei Ya, you are too young, this is the consequence of being picky eaters and not liking to eat. Brother Reese replied that after undergoing the arduous training formulated by the giant dragon instructors, his height has increased from 11 meters to 40 meters in just 1 year, which has quadrupled. But Migvia and Miglii are only a little over 12 meters now. Brother Reese left his own scales before leaving. Ya and Lei have both begun to mutate. The gap is more than 3 times. But big brother, you are not eating at all. Besides, we don't have such a big appetite as you, and we eat food that is several times our body weight every day. Even Lei and I are wondering if you are a dragon, why do you look bigger than your dad? Migvia held her brother Reese's wrist, stared at him with shining eyes and said. On the other side, Miglia, who was as small as Migvia, was a little timid and did not dare to come over, as if she hadn't realized that this was her big brother. Wei Ya, your brother and I are giant dragons, but I just developed a little faster. Quote. Looking at the younger sister who has not changed for a year but has become more mischievous, Brother Reese's head is covered with black lines. Because of absorbing too much radiation, the speed of body development has also accelerated. This can be regarded as the impact of strength growth. Brother Reese pointed to his body and said, Hey, obviously we were both born to the same parents, why did you grow up so fast, big brother? Migvia directly climbed onto Brother Reese's shoulder, and climbed towards the dorsal fin, asking while touching the sharp dorsal fin. She is not afraid at all, but curious to death. Gene reversion, blood mutation, atomic monster. Well, anyway, if I tell you, you don't understand. Brother Reese ignored the noisy Migvia on his back, her weight was nothing to him, just like a cat. Not all creatures dare to climb on Brother Reese, but there is no need to maintain majesty in front of the 2 sisters. Long way is reserved for enemies and disrespectful people. Lei, come here, let big brother hug you. Brother Reese turned his gaze, and said gently to the other female little holy dragon. Miglii approached cautiously, and touched Reese's paw with some fear. At this time, Brother Reese has already put away the coercion, and he has learned to control Longway to release it. Otherwise, Miglii, who was already a little scared, would not dare to approach her even more. When Miglii also stood on Godzilla's claws, Brother Reese propped her up on the other shoulder. The size gap between the two is like that of an adult and a baby. Lei is small, soft and very cute. The other side, brother, why are your wings so small? At this time, Migvia went around to the back of her brother Reese, and seemed to find 2 thick wing bones like swords and knives. She didn't understand what kind of organ it was at first, but she could vaguely see the outline of a dragon's wing, which looked like layers of blade-like scales and spines. Mistakenly mistaken for part of the dorsal fin. I want to know too. Could it be that my body developed so fast that the cells mistakenly thought, wings are useless so they didn't evolve? I've been soaking in magma pools before, if I had wings it should be burned too, but I feel a lot better because I don't have wings. Brother Reese turned his head and explained helplessly. But in fact, he should also know in his heart that the wings are not underdeveloped, but not developed at all. The reason is simple, there is no extra nutrition. Mutated dragon cell. Wings or death, it's up to you to choose. In the lava pool, the most fragile wings are usually the first to burn. In order to survive, cells can only concentrate their forces to protect important places such as the trunk and heart. Moreover, most of Reese activities are on land and in water, so it is more important to strengthen important organs such as limbs, tail, and dorsal fin. The limbs are strengthened for walking, the tail is for balance, and the dorsal fin is for heat dissipation. Therefore, the wings were ignored, and the mutant dragon cells said that there was no place to use the wings. When other parts evolved to the peak and it was difficult to develop, then it was the time for the rapid evolution of the wings. In order, the evolutionary parts should be like this: atomic furnace core, skeletal trunk, limb muscles, huge tail, heat dissipation dorsal fin, dragon scale defense, sharp claws, radar dragon horns, and then the most useless wings. All radiation converted into nutrients, limited mobilization to the most critical few. On the large piece, the remaining nutrition is distributed to the tail, dorsal fin, and scales and claws. These parts are divided, but it is found that only bone residue is left for the wings. Longyi was also very angry, saying that flying and air supremacy are also necessary. But the core atomic furnace said, as long as the breathing power is strong enough, and as long as the radar dragon horn positioning is accurate enough, one shot of the radiation hotline can knock down the target in the sky. 2 shots are enough, 2 shots are not enough. Mobilize all nutrients to evolve the dorsal fin, let the dorsal fin crack, evolve the back radiation flow, let dozens of laser hotlines be released from the back, and make the sky. The target directly sweeps and blasts through. Longyi thought about it, and felt that the big brothers in other parts were more important, so it will go back a little bit, and when the conditions of the big brothers are better in the future, leave some leftovers for it when they are full. However, according to the rules of evolution, dragon wings cannot be used as waste organs. Dorsal fin looked at the unattended dragon wing and said, "Mess with me." Dragon wing looked at the nearest dorsal fin, decided to follow suit, and began to evolve sharp scales that were as sharp as blades, and then strengthened the attack ability of the dorsal fin, and the dragon wing and dorsal fin merged together. Make Reis's dorsal fin look as thick and huge as a mountain. But Longyi has a dream, that is, when all parts of the host have evolved to the peak, and when it is finally its turn, it can be equal to other parts in a fair and honest manner. Sit up. This is the current state of Reis' physical evolution. His evolution is not determined by his own brain, but by the environment. If Brother Reis is on the island of the sky and has to fly at intervals, then the position of the dragon wings may crush the dragon tail and other parts, and it will be ranked in the priority evolution list. Superior. This is the law of biological evolution, and the environment determines the shape. Forget it, let's not talk about this. Wei Ya, Li Ai, the big brother brought you a gift. These are the scales of the blue dragon mentor and the red dragon mentor. I don't think it is very useful to me. Yes, there is still a lot of magic power on it, I will leave it to you to absorb. Big brother, I decided to be a pure monster that doesn't need magic power in the future. Quote. Brother Reis shook his head in the end, and decided not to think about the problem of dragon wing, and he also began to let go of himself, no longer entangled in the problem of magic power. Even if there is no magic power, relying on the energy generated in the atomic furnace all the time, it is enough to make him a monster above many creatures. Wow, thanks big brother. Migvia immediately cheered. Thanks, big brother. Migliai also laughed happily, and she seemed to gradually understand that the behemoth in front of her was her own kitchen. Although his body shape has changed, his gentle personality has not changed. But I don't know what kind of frightened expressions those young dragons will have when Migliai goes to the young dragon training camp to inquire about the name, Brother Reis. Gentle, how is that possible? Anyway, let's go in first. What about father and mother? Brother Reis looked at the slightly narrow dragon's nest and wondered whether to expand it, but considering that he might not stay here for a long time, he bent down and crawled into the cave. I don't know. During the day, my father was called out by my mother, but my mother didn't seem very happy. It seemed that a familiar relative came. She told us not to go out. Come, and quarreled with the dragons outside, and one of them was so loud, that it sounded like thunder. His mother calls him big brother, and it seems that things are not going well. Hearing Reis' inquiry, Migvia tilted her head and thought about it, and said honestly. Mother called him big brother. Maybe it's our uncle. Brother Reis just muttered a little, and didn't continue to ask. He didn't know how his parents viewed their brothers and sisters. Sometimes the dragon's family concept is not so strong, and it is only limited to the children when they are underage. Wei Ya, Li Ai, how have you been living this year? Walking slowly into the den, tall Reis asked his sister who sat on his shoulders with him on his back. How do I live? Just wake up every day, my father or mother will give us something to eat, and then start to meditate or go hunting in the wild. By the way, big brother, we also made new friends during this time, I'll introduce them to you later when I have time. Migvia excitedly introduced her and Li Ai's experience during this time. Well, yes, if you are sure that I will not have any influence on your future friendships, let me meet them. Brother Reis suddenly thought of something, and said to Migvia. It doesn't matter, they are all young dragons who get along very well with me, we often play together, and I definitely won't mind. Migvia said with a smile. But Migliai hesitated to speak, with a helpless expression on her face. When Brother Reis said this, he suddenly motioned for them to come down, and then raised his head. Speaking of which, Wei Ya, Li Ai, there is something I need to tell you in advance. In the process of entering the cave passage, Brother Reese thought for a while, and said to the two baby dragons. Well, you say. Migvia doesn't seem to want to go down. She feels that Brother Reese has a kind of aura. As long as he is close to the body, he will become comfortable. What she didn't understand at this moment was that her cells were absorbing the biological radiation overflowing from Brother Reese. I'm planning to leave Dragon Island now. Quote, Brother Reese didn't stop Migvia's actions. He was silent for a while, and said. Oh, what? Migvia was stunned for a moment, and then she reacted instantly. She stared blankly at her Brother Reese, and her paws stopped moving. What did you just say, big brother? Even the smile on Migliai's face gradually disappeared. She leaned closer to her Brother Reese and asked with staring eyes. I mean, my size can no longer continue to live at home. I have grown too fast and have surpassed the average dragon in the juvenile stage. My strength has also become very strong now. Mother's reason to live with her. The same goes for Wei Ya and Li Ai. According to your evolutionary speed, you will reach the stage of juvenile dragons in less than 5 or 6 years. Even if you don't want to leave your parents, your size is getting bigger and bigger, and you will be driven away sooner or later. It's better to be mentally prepared before going out. Brother Reese touched the heads of the two little sisters and replied. Quote, I know, but, Waya. Migvia wanted to say something else, but Miglia tugged her and shook her head. She had no choice but to accept the news. Then good luck for your future. They hugged Reese reluctantly, as if he would leave at any moment. Okay, let's talk about the dragon battle next. After embracing for a while, Reese said with a serious face, and Migvia also had serious expressions on their faces. The next day, Brother Reese dragon parents Leonard and Takana still haven't returned. And today is the deadline for the dragon battle, and he had to take his two little sisters closer to the battle canyon. So Brother Reese followed the instructions and came to the core area of Jesserand, Dragon Arena. Among the mountains, a huge canyon divides the terrain, and many dragons are already in place around it. I always feel that the atmosphere is so depressing, and everyone has become less talkative. On this day, even Migvia, who has always been active, realized the heavy atmosphere. She looked at the young dragons who remained silent in the distance, and while looking towards this side in fear, she backed away. Keep calm, Wei Ya, the apostle of the Dragon King will arrive today. Brother Reese and Migliai looked at each other, conveying information with their eyes, but his current body shape in this group of young dragons is completely beyond description. It's totally Tyrannosaurus Rex entering the chicken flock. Although there may be dinosaur blood in poultry such as chickens, the gap is too great. Sure enough, before Brother Reese got close to Veilong vs. Battlefield, he was stopped by the electric dragon guards guarding the gate at both ends. Hey, the dragon over there, yes, it's you. Two adult dragons descended from the sky, instantly blocking Reese's path. They looked at the strong muscles on Reese's body, and their tone seemed to soften a lot. This black dragon parent, please stay behind. As a parent, you are not allowed to enter the competition field. But you can fly to the platform at the top of the mountain through the entrance over there, and watch the battle in the canyon from the top of the mountain. Parents, me. Brother Reese waved his paw, pointed at himself and said, Uncle, have you misunderstood something? I am also a member of the competition. What's your name? We don't remember any other staff members. Oh, by the way, are you the new referee? But, I remember that the referee for the Whelping Dragon is a blue dragon, and you are black. It seems that they misunderstood what Reese said, and the two dragon guards looked at each other and asked. Could this guy be suspicious? The eyes of the two giant dragons gradually turned hostile, but seeing Reese's size, he felt a little fear in his heart. If possible, try not to do anything. What? Brother Reese turned his head puzzled and looked at the dragon guards. That's right, Big Brother came with us, why not let him in? Migvia also spoke out indignantly at this time, questioning the two giant dragon guards. Sorry, that's the rule. Those over 15 meters in size will be counted as young dragons. Even if you're not their parent, don't try to fool them around. The Dragon Arena is a sacred and inviolable place, and you will never be allowed to do this. The lawless elements are doing something wrong. The two dragon guards held their heads high, saying that if you force your way through, then you can't blame them. Never mind. Wei ya, Li I, you go in. Quote, but big brother. Time is running out, you don't need to worry about me, anyway, I'm not interested in fighting whelping dragons. Oh, well, pushed by Brother Reese, the two younger sisters had no choice but to enter the arena, while the two high-spirited dragon guards were still looking at Brother Reese vigilantly, as if saying that you can't fool our brother, the second dragon. Okay, then I'll go to the arena of the youth dragons. Brother Reese narrowed his eyes. Since the two dragon guards won't let him in, he should go to the arena next door. Of course, if the guards over there are willing to let you in. The dragon guards sneered and said, but it's best not to have expectations, like you, an old adult dragon pretending to be a young dragon to participate in the battle to win the attention of the Dragon King's apostles. Phew. That's right, I advise you to give up your heart. Under the watchful eyes of the dragon guards, Brother Reese raised his tail, as if looking down on them, and then the giant tail slammed into the ground, causing a loud bang, which scared the two dragon guards to spread their wings immediately and then watched with angry expressions. Brother Reese left. Snort. Brother Reese snorted inwardly, then walked in other directions. The battle of giant dragons is divided into 3 areas: young dragons, young dragons, young dragons, and 3 cold fields. The young dragon is the first object of observation of the apostles of the Dragon King, followed by the young dragon. Finally, there is the young dragon. Every competition will have eye-catching young dragons. At this time, the apostles of the Dragon King will patiently evaluate their level in their hearts. If they meet expectations, they will have a chance to be taken away. Of course, the treatment may not be as good as that of the young dragon. But it's hard to say, it's gold that always shines. It's a pity that Brother Reese was going to participate in the whelp battle, but was kicked out because he was too big. Now I can only be forced to participate in the youth dragon competition. However, when they arrived at the youth dragon arena, Brother Reese was treated the same way. But this time it seems to be more serious. He was mistaken for an adult dragon, or even an ancient dragon. Roar, I said that I'm here to participate in the competition, are you deaf? The huge roar caught the attention of the surrounding dragons. At the entrance of the youth dragon arena, a giant black dragon with a height of 40 meters roared at the 2 adult dragon guards who were nearly half the size of him. Reese, who couldn't stand it anymore, unleashed his dragon power, and there was a terrifying moment. The coercion forced them away, and the 2 dragon guards immediately entered a fighting state. Black Dragon, the Dragon King's apostle is here, so you dare to be presumptuous. Although we may not be able to beat you, the battle will instantly attract the attention of the apostle, and you will not be able to escape even if you have wings. What surprised Brother Reese was that the 2 dragon guards were even more stubborn than the 2 brothers just now. They looked at him with serious hostility and refused to let him in. Hey, I just said that I am a disciple of the great red dragon Guru Daemon, the great blue dragon Nursandna, the great rock dragon Tidnik, and the great tungsten dragon Armor Star. My father is the holy dragon envoy Reynard, my mother is the beautiful holy dragon Lady Takana, my name is Brother Reese. Brother Reese sighed and introduced himself patiently. He even had to use the identities of the mentors as a shield, but because too many names of the mentors came out, it made people even more suspicious. Arrogance, the 4 masters teach you one at the same time. Even the apostles have never encountered this kind of situation before. This is exactly how the Dragon King was treated when he was young. The 2 giant dragon guards said with a look of disbelief. They still kept standing, with their arms folded, looking up at the big black dragon in front of them. Even if they are the 2 of them, they are only about 25 meters upright, and they only reach the chest cavity of Brother Reese. Looking at the muscles of the black giant dragon in front of him, he said that he was only 2 years old, would you believe it? This is so 2 years old. ... So we can't reach an agreement. Quote. Brother Reese squinted his eyes, as if he was going to give the 2 guys in front of him a big fight at any time. With his strength, it shouldn't be a problem to knock them out. But what will happen next is unpredictable at all, but just when the atmosphere between Reese and the dragon guard is tense. Brother Reese tilted his head, and the next second, his pupils began to shrink instinctively, his body tensed up, and he instantly entered the battle state. He noticed an extremely terrifying sight sweeping towards him, passing over himself, and then his brother Reese noticed that two huge sources of magic power from above the clouds swooped in quickly, which were far beyond the powerful existence of the great red dragon Gu Luo Daemon. Well, brother Reese took a deep breath, the blood flow in the body began to speed up, the atomic furnace roared involuntarily, the dorsal fin emitted strong light and entered the ready state for battle, the sense of crisis and belligerence of the dragon clan was instantly aroused. Master Apostle is here. The two giant dragon guards suddenly turned their heads, looked respectfully at the clouds not far away and said, "You'd better be quiet, don't look at the Apostle." Although brother Reese was upset, the dragon guards still kindly reminded them that they looked very frightened, holding back their fear and shaking their bodies. "I know, thanks for the reminder." Brother Reese's bright golden pupils slowly condensed, eyes that see through all magic and stared at the sky. He clenched his teeth, restrained the desire to fight from deep within his body, kept silent, and stared closely at the front. Boom! Two huge black shadows looming in the clouds were moving at a high speed. Their speed was extremely fast. After more than 10 seconds, accompanied by the sound of breaking through the air, huge figures rushed out of the clouds and headed towards Reese. The position flew. Not long after, the earth trembled and the mountains swayed, and two huge dragons landed on the ground, but it was rare that they did not cause landslide damage, but cleverly controlled the power, and the huge wings flapped to release the air explosion. The shock wave easily vanished. Perfect relief. Huge in size yet dexterous, sensitive yet fishy. Explosive and fast, this is a born fighter. Among the two Dragon King Apostles, the one at the front is a golden giant dragon. His twisted muscles are full of explosive power. His body is over 80 meters in size. There are two huge curved horns on his head. The serrated sharp blade seems to be born for fighting. The most eye-catching thing is that his sharp claws are extremely thick, with protruding golden barbs on his wrists. His shoulders and arms are also covered with sharp golden thorns, and the ends of the dragon wings are also looking more ferocious than other dragons 100 times. Whether it's visual shock or imposing oppression, the Dragon King Apostle in front of him is undoubtedly an extremely terrifying existence. My intuition told Reese that if the old tungsten dragon armor star went all out to fight the monster in front of him, just a roar from the opponent would make the old tungsten dragon armor star lose his fighting power in an instant. Without it, because the guy is a crazy dragon. And it is completely different from the cowardly little guy like Dilbaz. The opponent is the fighting dragon among the wild dragon species, the existence of the Dragon King Apostle. However, compared to this terrifying wild dragon species, the other apostle beside him is not so huge. The other end is an emerald-colored giant dragon, which belongs to a special dragon species, wind dragon, mutated from a green dragon, and is good at wind attribute magic. Although the ecological niche is also high, but the other party, as the apostle of the Dragon King, is also a kind of magic dragon, which must have a terrifying power far exceeding that of the same dragon. Her body size is about 50 meters, and at first glance she is not much different from her, but the opponent's dragon wings have a wingspan of more than 65 meters, covered with bright emerald-colored scales, like beautiful feathers, and under the watchful eye of the magic eye, the concentration of magic power on the opponent's wings is far higher than that of other parts, indicating that the wings may be her main means of attack. The two Dragon King Apostles, one male and one female, talked to each other when they landed on the ground. "Vitalia, I didn't expect you to lose to me in flight. It seems that the subordinates of the Sky Feather Dragon King, who is known as the Overlord of the Sky, are nothing more than that." The huge golden mad dragon apostle took a step forward, and shouted at the emerald dragon beside him. "Bagelled, I just didn't release the magic power. You crazy dragons who always fight and compete with others are poor short-lived guys. I won't be surprised when you die." The emerald-colored Fengshonglong apostle said calmly. Her voice was gentle and elegant, like the sound of an organ. At this time, Brother Reese looked through the inheritance memory left by the big blue dragon in his mind, and recognized their identities. Name: Baggard Austin Carl. Identity: Apostle of the Golden Dragon King. Age: 1871. Name: Vitalia Liliana. Identity: Heavenly Feather Dragon King Apostle. Age: 43 years old. Shouldn't it be said that you are a member of the wind dragon species? The tone is very sharp, and you can feel aggressive just by using words. This is something that we mad dragon species can't do. We like to smash the enemy with our fists. Crushed, crushed into pieces, so that any problem can be solved once and for all. The golden mad dragon Baggart said this, and then glanced at the position of the dragon guard and Brother Reese who blocked the way. But he directly ignored the dragon guard, and set his sights on Chef Reese, who had a strong sense of presence. Backquote, I know who you are, Brother Reese Mirabeau Reese. I heard Guru Damon mention your name, and I was once taken care of by him, but that was a long time ago. Anyway, I am very interested in you, so I will give you a chance. As long as you are willing to serve me, I will personally guide you to become stronger. The apostle of the golden mad dragon showed a very interesting smile, and said word by word. His words made the dragon guard's eyes widen, and they looked at Reese in disbelief, as if they felt extremely envious and jealous of his good luck. I'm Brother Reese Mirabeau Reese, meeting you for the first time. The black dragon named Brother Reese looked directly at the golden mad dragon apostle, and said in a low voice, your suggestion is very good, but did Guru Damon tell you that I am an unusual young dragon? Whether it is physically or mentally, it's not normal. He brought it up, but I don't care. The apostle of the golden mad dragon crossed his arms and looked at his brother Reese aloofly. Then the old man said that my goal is to surpass the Dragon King. You are the Dragon King's apostle, not the Dragon King, so can I understand that if I follow you, I can only become a subordinate of the Dragon King's subordinates in the future? What should I do? How to surpass the Dragon King? Unless you have the strength to surpass the Dragon King, otherwise, I will refuse. Noticing that the other party was sizing him up, Brother Reese paused for a moment, and responded in a natural tone. Quote, Do you want to die? The eyes of the golden mad dragon envoy, de Nuos, showed a fierce light, his claws were tightly clenched, and the astonishing coercion radiating from his side made Reese feel that it would not be surprising that this guy suddenly went berserk in the next second. I may be overthinking myself, but the apostle who got angry because of being rejected has a really broad mind. Brother Reese responded with an expression of, whatever you say. In Brother Reese's sight, the cheeks of the golden mad dragon apostle were shaking wildly, as if about to release the dragon's breath. In this regard, Brother Reese just retreated a certain distance silently, ready to counterattack. Well, that's the end of the joke. I'm Vitalia Liliana. Although I'm not one of the 4 true dragons, I can still be considered an apostle of the Dragon King. The Emerald Wind Dragon apostle lowered his head to look at his brother Reese, and said with a smile, the Tianyu Dragon King the First serve as a close friend of your great-grandfather, the Holy Dragon King. I have already heard about you. See you today, it's really amazingly big, whether it's courage or body. Well, hello. Brother Reese didn't accept any compliment, just nodded and stated. But the golden mad dragon apostle's name has, Osty Carl, in it. Could it be that he is a relative of the little mad dragon Durbas? Or is it something like a grandfather? Outside the dragon arena. However, ignoring the existence of the Emerald Wind Dragon apostle, a black dragon and a huge golden dragon looked at each other. A strong fighting intent could not help but appear in the 2 dragon eyes, which is the desire for fighting. Gu Luo Damon said that you have the potential to become an extreme dragon. Because of this, it makes you too proud. The eyes of the golden mad dragon apostle showed a glint of fierceness, exuding astonishing coercion. No one knows if he will make a sudden move. Wait, Baggart, are you trying to break the rules? The Emerald Wind Dragon apostle saw that the situation was not good, and quickly stood by Brother Reese, as if to protect this dragon. Rule. The apostle of the golden mad dragon glanced at the apostle of the Emerald Wind Dragon, and grinned at the corner of his mouth, revealing a smile that was enough to scare the dragon. Here, I am the rule. It's almost time to let these young dragons know his existence. Bang! An extremely terrifying momentum erupted in an instant, and the powerful dragon power made the surrounding air stagnate, and the dust quickly fell down. Whether it was the dragon guards, other nearby dragons, or even the young dragons in the entire Dragon Valley, they all watched. Lu crawled down in fear, feeling an urge to lie on the ground. The coercion of the superior. Brother Reese stood there without responding immediately. He was not afraid of the oppression of the golden mad dragon apostle. But under the pressure of all the giant dragons being unable to move, Brother Reese walked forward step by step as if unaffected, and his tone gradually became colder. He arrived in front of the golden mad dragon apostle, with a pair of sharp and terrifying his golden pupils lit up, staring at him from bottom to top. Sorry to make you angry. He said this lightly, his big dragon pupils stared ahead, and then he said with a sharp tone, but if the giant wings of the old era were just for showing off in front of young dragons, how about why don't you throw it all away and start over? The next moment, what ushered in was another, incomparable Longway. This coercion mixed with tyrannical cruelty, and the king of monsters also carried a terrifying aura. Brother Reese stood there, only less than 10 meters away from the Apostle Boggold, and the two sides looked at each other, as if they were responding to him. The giant wings of the old times seemed to be nothing more than this. If he was born in the same era, he would tell him who is the master. Click. Two near-substantial dragon powers collided in the void, as if black thunder was spreading, creating a terrifying vision. The originally bright canyon sky flickered and darkened at this moment, and with the hurricane blowing, the world was changed. Every dragon's heart seemed to be covered with dark clouds, and the wind howled, and those who couldn't hold it fell unconscious to the ground. At this moment, the air made a crushing sound, and the invisible dragon power on Brother Reese exploded, colliding with the pressure of the golden mad dragon apostle. The violent force in the sky is also rumbling, as if responding to him. What happened? One of them is Bagold's breath, and the other, so strange, is it another main dragon? Who is so arrogant, dare to provoke that lunatic Boggold? The apostles of the Dragon King in other areas looked at this side curiously, releasing their coercion to protect the frightened group of young dragons and young dragons. In the young dragon arena, an ice-blue young dragon raised its head, and the frost dragon Yeisha looked far away. ACFG. She seemed to search around, but she didn't find the familiar black dragon Shadow. I don't know where that guy went. In the young dragon arena, the little wild dragon Direbus suddenly raised his head. Due to the rapid mutation and evolution of his body, he was originally a young dragon, and he took the initiative to apply to enter the young dragon training camp. During this time, he also ate a lot. It has suffered a lot, but its will has become strong and resolute. It's grandpa's breath. Soon, the little mad dragon Direbus recognized one of the Longway, which was the breath of a passing dragon that his father took him to see not long after it was born. It is said that the grandfather at that time was tracking down the whereabouts of the king killer. Of course, the little mad dragon Dilbas may not know that the boss he has been looking for has gotten into a fight with his grandfather. Crackling. There was only a loud roar in the sky, and the clouds instantly distorted and collapsed unstoppably. Under the coercion, the ground began to crack. The dragon guards looked at each other and shivered. The two auras collided together. Longway confronted, with a violent intention to look down on everything. It seemed to tear everything apart, and the surface of the ground suddenly set off debris dancing wildly all over the sky. Because this is an almost substantive violent conflict of coercion. With Brother Reese and Apostle Boggold as the center, all the power is concentrated here. The giant dragon far away from here has not been greatly affected. On the contrary, terrible cracks like spider webs appeared on the ground under Reese's feet. Baggard, enough is enough. Seeing that terrifying vision, the Emerald Wind Dragon Apostle was also shaken, unable to keep calm at all. The collision of dragon power, for a magical dragon like her who is not good at releasing coercion, is simply looking up at the sky. Because Longway has extremely high requirements on physical fitness, and Magic Dragon is not good at hand-to-hand combat, so Longway is usually not too scary. But for an apostle of the Dragon King like Baggard, and he is also a mad dragon species, coercion is not a concept at all. The sky and the earth are like thunder roaring. In the violent collision, the result of this conflict of dragon power was that the Apostle Boggold mixed with the power of the mad dragon, vaguely overwhelmed his elder brother Reese, and generated a shock wave centered on himself, and slammed out. The impact force made Brother Reese's 50,000-ton body feel strenuous, and while his tail kept shaking, it also caused the two nearby dragon guards to set off a wave of horror. It is not easy for them to persist until now without coma. You can't go wrong with this dragon power. The Apostle Boggold looked at Brother Reese's frivolous expression in silence. Unlike his expression, his gaze was very steady. Obviously, the other party knew what they were doing. It wasn't until here that the Apostle Boggold realized why this rookie young dragon was valued by Gu Luodaemon and other ancient dragons. Even if they didn't get along for a long time, they could conclude that he was comparable to or even surpass the Dragon King. Strong presence. Boy, your coercion is very good. I approve of you. The mad dragon apostle Boggled gradually put away his aura, and he felt a little envious and sighed in his heart. What he envied was the talent of his brother Reese, but it was a pity that he was not his grandson. If his grandson could be like him, then he would be willing to lose half his life. Acknowledge me, Senior Baggard, what are you talking about? Unfortunately, this sentence should be said by me. However, Reese's rhetorical question stunned Boggled. What's the meaning? Boggled squinted his eyes, and his eyelids twitched wildly. There seemed to be a bad premonition in his heart. I keep myself safe, and I just want to be an ordinary young dragon. I had no intention of aspiring to be the strongest, but as I grew up, I gradually realized one thing. As long as I am strong enough, there will be no enemies. What do you mean by that? My answer is, there is no word, retreat, in my dictionary. Faintly, there was a terrifying buzzing sound coming from Brother Reese, as if the surrounding air was burning violently. No, that was not an illusion. The next moment, a blazing red light condensed from its mouth. The dorsal fin emits a strong red light like blood, and the black lightning of endless thunder energy can be seen with the naked eye gathering in Brother Reese's mouth. The internal reactor in his body roars continuously, and then the muscles contract to trigger a chain reaction, and the dorsal fin glows like red lightning. Terrifying high temperature gathered from the mouth, and then the uranium energy hotline, which exceeded 150,000 degrees Celsius, melted the mouth, and at the same time as white smoke rose, it turned into a laser-like hotline and burst out instantly. Senior Boggled, since you are the powerful and inviolable apostle of the Dragon King, then take this move and let me realize the gap between you and me. If you can withstand this move unscathed, then I recognize you. I would like to worship you as my teacher and serve you for 10 years. Even, no matter how you punish me, I have no complaints. And then, uranium breath fires. The terrifying high temperature of over 100,000 degrees penetrated everything at a speed several times Mach. At such a close distance, there was no time left for the mad dragon apostle Boggled to react. The air was burning and ionized, mixed with black light and lightning. The laser beam hit on the thick and protruding thorn-scale arms of the mad dragon apostle Boggled, who crossed in front of his chest. Bang! In front of Brother Reese, a huge flame that shone brighter than the surface of the scorching sun rose, and the melted earth began to collapse and turn into magma. This trick, the terrifying uranium energy hotline, completely broke out. The scorching at a high temperature of over 100,000 degrees caused dark clouds to roll in the sky, and the wind pressure dissipated immediately, turning into bursts of flames and bursting out. Wherever it came, it was all ashes. And the master who released the breath, the huge black body that looks like a fir tree that has existed for tens of thousands of years, under the light of the fire, reflected a deep and terrifying blood color. Brother Reese never believed it. There is no substance or even metal in this world that can withstand this temperature. Even if there is, it is impossible to insist on counting and above. What's more, they are giant dragons. Some dragons have adventures. Some dragons, with backgrounds. Some dragons are talented enough. Some dragons possess the heart of a strong man. Of course there is no shortage of these, but how many does he, the Dragon King's apostle, have? Among the young dragons who dare to attack the apostle of the Dragon King, Brother Reese is the first. It is also the only one of its kind. It's not that he is not afraid of death, but that if he is afraid, he will not be able to stand on the top. What's more, Brother Reese is quite confident in his breath. This is the dignity of the King of Monsters, not something a giant dragon can break at will. And he is also very smart, expressing, "Take my breath, and I will recognize your status as an apostle." Instead of, "I'm going to blow you up." Impossible. This level of dragon's breath. Is this your arrogant capital? The crossed arms of the mad dragon apostle Boggled resisted the uranium energy hotline, and its proud and almost invincible dragon scale defense was actually broken. I saw that the thick exoskeleton thorns also showed a frightening light, and was quickly burned red by the high temperature of 150,000 degrees, showing traces of melting. Boggled, with a huge dragon body and explosive muscles, showed a look of horror and uncertainty on his face, and scorching pain came from his arms. Although it was only for a short moment, if it continued, his arms will definitely be blown. Roar! Brother Reese poured all the energy of the atomic furnace on the mad dragon apostle in front of him. 1 second, 2 seconds. In an instant, the laser heat was transformed into terrifying heat, and the resulting explosion destroyed the world, causing black mushroom clouds to rise in the sky, and molten lava splashing everywhere. The rest of the temperature even melted Reese's dorsal fin. It made the earth and sky behind it present a terrifying scene of burning. The temperature exceeded 2000 degrees, turning the surrounding ground into ashes, and the high-temperature radiation expanded outward along with the shock wave. You two are too crazy. Atmospheric fracture barrier. The emerald wind dragon apostle looked at this scene in shock, and she immediately flapped her wings to create a barrier that would compress and break the atmosphere, isolating the thermal radiation shock wave and avoiding harming innocent people. Up to this moment, the mad dragon Baggard could no longer maintain his composure, and showed his mighty strength, sending out a roar that resounded through the heavens and the earth. Roar. With the roar of the mad dragon, a strong shock wave was generated around Boggold's body, instantly isolating the high temperature. On the other hand, the destructive, uranium hotline, also lasted for more than 3 seconds, and a large area of Brother Reese's body appeared red-hot and melted, so he had to enter the cooling state forcibly. Because this is just a temptation, not a desperate effort, so there is no need to put your own life on it. Brother Reese immediately interrupted the output of the uranium energy hotline, completely spread his arms, and put his giant tail raised high on the ground. His body leaned forward slightly, so that the dorsal fin that was emitting hot smoke was completely exposed to the air. The atomic furnace has also entered an emergency cooling state. Hiss, Kai, Chi-hiss. Following the puffing and puffing, a hot breath overflowed from the gap between Reese's dragon teeth, like two hot white smokes, distorting the air. It seems that there are many high-temperature vapors volatilizing on its body, making the mist shroud its surroundings. Even so, in the dense fog, there is still a pair of sharp and terrifying bright golden pupils flickering non-stop. Even if it stopped exhaling, it still lingers with a terrifying, devastating, and shocking aura. Strength determines status. This is a universal law. And with the end of the display of his strongest means, the frightening and desperate dragon's breath gradually fell silent. But in the eyes of others, this seems to be the end of the point, indicating that Reese has no plans to die. Of course, everyone, including Boggold, thought so too. But no matter what, the mad dragon Baggard has shown what a dragon with the strongest body should look like, and he is worthy of his name of fury. The body resisted the breath for a few seconds. Even Reese looked at the front like an earthquake. Even if he attacked himself with this kind of breath, his skin would be burned quickly. Force and high-temperature destructive power. But the mad dragon apostle in its heyday in front of me, it doesn't have any elemental power, and it is superior to others of its kind with only physical strength. Insulate the hotline, but also proved its toughness. Roar. A roar that resounded through the sky came from the space. The black lightning and the high temperature of the red lotus collapsed along with the roar of the mad dragon, and a shock wave burst out that destroyed everything and disintegrated from the molecular structure. This is the roar of the dragon. No, the roar of the dragon is not terrifying countless times. Brother Reese's pupils flashed a red light, and his senses were overwhelmingly covered, and the picture of the world also stopped for a few seconds at this moment, as if in slow motion. With the roar as the center, black lightning appeared in the space, as if the atmosphere had been densely shattered. The earth, rocks, and sand all turned into dust in an instant, and centered at the feet of the mad dragon, the world began to collapse outwards. In just an instant, a huge black pit appeared at its feet. The shock wave spread out without any dead angle. The terrified giant dragon guards kept howling, and their dragon wings and scales were also turned into powder in an instant. Seeing the roaring and uncontrollable rampage of this mad dragon, a pale green barrier of light unfolded instantly, and soon just break through the space, cover and go. Baggard, do you want to kill all the dragons here? There was a roar from the wind dragon apostle Vitalia in the air. Her wings shook violently. The force of tearing the sky caused a fault in the atmosphere. The entire sky appeared pitch black as if covered by a black cube, and a huge barrier was located. The four corners completely blocked the roar of the mad dragon Boggold. But even so, the aftermath of the roar still caused dense cracks in the enchantment barrier of the apostle of the wind dragon, which shattered in the next moment. However, the roar of the mad dragon also came to an abrupt end, and it seemed that the apostle Boggold had come to his senses. The mad dragon Baggard lowered his head, looked at the nothingness under his feet and around him, and the appearance of the dragon guard who had lost half of his wings and howled in pain, and fell into silence. It seems that some have overdone it. He twisted his neck, looked in the direction of his brother Reese, and grinned. Then, the mad dragon boggled, restrained his hostility, raised his dragon arm with melted scales, and instantly regenerated big and thick thorns with his thoughts. Brother Reese, you should have found out my name and identity in the inheritance memory long ago. The mad dragon Baggard grinned and said, but I don't know anything about you. As you said, you hurt me. So, I lost this duel. No, it was my unilateral request, and I made a sudden move. Brother Reese looked at the mad dragon Baggard in shock. Originally, he wanted to test the power of the Dragon King's apostles and their arrogant capital. Now it seems that I am still too young. The roar of the wild dragon just now was not just as simple as destroying the world, but he finally understood what kind of terrifying force the roar of the dragon is. That is the power called vibration. To a certain extent, just roaring can cause the sky, the earth, the atmosphere and the ocean to vibrate, and can cause strong earthquakes and tsunamis as well as powerful shock waves, with extremely strong physical destructive power. Let the sky split, let the earth quake, let the sea dry up. With this kind of power to cause a wide range of violent vibrations, what kind of Dragon King apostle are you? But carefully, because he was too weak, he became the general of the Dragon King. So how strong is the Golden Dragon King of the Mad Dragon species? Because the wild dragons are pure physical combat dragons, they are not born with elemental magic, and they can be said to be non-attributed. But it can absorb magic power, and then let the magic power temper the body, strengthen the punching organ that emits a huge roar in the body. After fusing the dragon power, pure non-attribute magic power, and super vibrating roar, the roar of the wild dragon can break all hard objects. And the level of the Dragon King Apostle can cause a large-scale destruction effect at the molecular level. In my brother Reese impression, a certain brother named Puffy always has a similar move called Super Shockwave. The sound when fired is so loud that it can shatter everything. A large number of ions are produced, and the emission speed reaches Mach 3, which can explode a city in an instant. However, since the explosion scale after launch is not as good as the charged particle ray stream, charged particle cannon, and even the range is not as good as the breath, so although super shock wave exists as a skill, its usage rate is extremely low, and it cannot be used in the early stage. And the latter is not useful at all. But if you look at it from the perspective of others, this ability is quite terrifying. The key point is the difference between the Mad Dragon species and Kuthra. The latter is the launch of directional breath, while the Mad Dragon can not only breathe in a direction, but also carry out a wide range of indiscriminate attacks. This kind of roar can not only be used as an attack, but also as an attack defense, so that flying objects such as magic shells cannot easily approach. But if it is to let the two fight, then it is not a concept. Kusla stands upright for 300 meters, but counting the tail length will exceed 600 meters. Its body tissues have the properties of superconducting substances and asymmetric materials as a whole, and can absorb various electromagnetic waves. Somatic cells can even generate ultra-high output electromagnetic fields, thereby creating a negative refractive index barrier under the skin that can block physical attacks' asymmetrical penetration position. And also has the ability to manipulate gravity. In this case, the roaring dragon probably hadn't broken through the asymmetrical penetration stance before it was swung by Zuzla's long and giant tail, and combined with the ultra-high output plasma generated by the dorsal fin, the emitted the speed is as high as Mach 3 to 4, and the plasma cutting up to 600 meters burns everything. Of course, the fact that Kusla can instantly kill the apostle of the Mad Dragon does not mean that Reese can do it. Conversely, the current Mad Dragon apostle can easily kill himself in seconds. Before they grow up completely, learn the radiation heat, atomic breath, and release their breath unscrupulously, any apostle of the Dragon King is quite deadly and extremely threatening. Cannot provoke them, try not to provoke them. This is irresponsible for your own safety. Just like just now, if Vitalia, the apostle of the Wind Dragon, hadn't rushed to resist the roar of the Mad Dragon, even if she didn't die, she would have been severely injured, and even the atomic furnace had been poisoned with cracks. Boy, are you a little too crazy. But the one who was really shocked was the Mad Dragon Apostle Boggled. He took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. If I remember correctly, the guy in front of me called Brother Reese is only 2 years old. For a giant dragon who wants to become the Dragon King, how can he be king if he is not crazy? Brother Reese was taken aback for a moment, and then took a deep look at Baggard. It seemed that the other party was also testing him. I underestimated you. During the conversation, the aura of the two dragons rose again. But this time, there was no hostility. Boggold thinks Reese has the right to be arrogant. Brother Reese believes that Boggold is very strong and oppressive, and deserves his respect. Dragon Arena. Among them, except for the unconscious young dragon, the other giant dragons started talking in panic, and the dragon guards didn't dare to act rashly, and continued to retreat outwards. The canyon has already been shattered, the ground shattered and collapsed, the terrifying dragon power conflict just now, and the sky darkened, followed by a huge heat wave, and the final roar of the mad dragon, all made people. All the giant dragons knew in their hearts that it was definitely not a destructive force they could bear. The young giant dragons were all nervous, they couldn't hear the movement outside, they could only watch from afar with fear, palpitation, and worried eyes. The sky was overcast and the sun was dark. The hurricane blew, and the sand and dust stormed, but they couldn't blow away the oppressive atmosphere, and the atmosphere of the world fell into a stagnation again in an instant. But soon, this atmosphere was washed away by other powerful momentum. Accompanied by several bursting sounds in the sky, huge figures rushed out again, several apostles of the Dragon King, from other areas, after sensing the aura here, also rushed too. Out of date. What's going on? Baggard, are you fighting with King Killer? Who is so bold and offended you? Well, did I perceive that big black dragon wrongly? His soul age is actually only 2 years old. What the hell is this 2 years old? Plus, ho ha 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 ha. After half a minute of stalemate, the mad dragon Apostle Boggold laughed out loud for some reason, and even Brother Reese grinned. When they saw Baggard laughing, before the others had time to breathe a sigh of relief, they saw the two dragons punch each other, carrying the power of destroying the dead. The arms of the dragons crossed and collided with each other. Boom! The 50,000-ton Brother Reese was pushed back and slid out a huge gully dozens of meters long on the ground. Afterwards, the giant tail supported the body and withstood the force without falling down. Amazing! Baggard exclaimed. On the other side, the other apostles of the Dragon King came after hearing the news, spread out their huge wings one after another, and hovered over this area. A total of 4 apostles of the Dragon King, plus the original 2, the arrival of the 6 apostles. Directly it is to let the giant dragon in the arena put its head firmly on the ground, not daring to lift it up. Has it evolved to this level? Are you sure you didn't lie to me? Is that really a dragon? That guy is as strong as a monster. Feeling the pressure around him, Brother Reese raised his head and saw the other 4 Dragon King apostles slowly approaching, keeping a distance between them, and the atmosphere began to become dignified. Migno, your nephew. Why does that black holy dragon have such an exaggerated body? But his aura is still very green. It should be a young dragon or a young dragon, but judging from the strength he just showed, he was already able to withstand a punch of 1/3 of Boggold's normal strength. Is it just 1/3 of the norm? After realizing the voice of the Dragon King's apostle, Brother Reese narrowed his eyes immediately, raised his head and looked at them. Excellent talent combined with extreme practice, the young dragon monster created by Gu Luodaemon and the others should refer to this guy. One of the dragon shadows hidden in the light curtain folded his hands, looked at his Brother Reese who was confronting Baggard at the 640, and just said this. Is he the black whelp that Iasa mentioned that defeated her? It really isn't easy. Quote. Another voice that was as cold as ice, but very elegant sounded. So, Migno, don't you plan to meet your nephew? Also, are you sure you want to take Takana? The other Dragon King apostles asked a white giant dragon. Takana, mother's name. Hearing this, Brother Reese suddenly raised his head and looked towards a certain direction in the sky. Boom, boom. With the flapping of the giant wings, a huge white dragon with a size of more than 60 meters descended slowly. The dragon had a pair of sacred and magnificent wings that symbolized disaster, covered by shining white scales. At the same time, it is covered with ominous red thunder and lightning, and the 4 huge horns on the top of its head are shining, exuding a noble and powerful sacred majesty. Are you Brother Reese? My name is Migno, and I'm your uncle. Hearing the voice of Holy Dragon Apostle Migno, Brother Reese did not answer him, but fell into silence. Brother Reese's instinct told him that if he didn't do anything next, he might lose his mother. Weya said that an apostle of the Holy Dragon came in the past 2 days, quarreled with her mother outside, and even her father Leonard was dragged away, and their whereabouts are currently unknown. According to recollections, Brother Reese thought that her mother had said that she had severed ties with her grandfather, and it stands to reason that there would be no relatives. Then there is only one possibility: the mother was forcibly taken away. And his father, Leonard, doesn't know what's going on now. Maybe he resisted, but how could he be the opponent of the Holy Dragon Apostle? Brother Reese didn't dare to think too much, and just questioned the existence in front of him word by word, even if he was the aloof Dragon King's apostle. Where is Takana? Asked Reese. You don't have to pay attention to her. Also, why did you become hostile to Boggold? The Holy Dragon Apostle whispered to his brother Reese in a very depressed tone. I said, where is my mother? Brother Reese's bright golden pupils reflected the figure of the Holy Dragon Apostle, and he continued to speak as if he didn't hear the other party's question. Also, where are you taking her? Let her return to your great-grandfather and fulfill the obligations of the Holy Dragon clan. The eyelids of the Holy Dragon Apostle twitched, and he said impatiently, it seemed that his brother Reese's attitude made him feel uncomfortable. After all, the aloof apostle, King Yin's spokesperson. To be asked in such a tough tone by such a young dragon is more or less disrespectful to the elders. Did she agree? Brother Reese was silent for a moment and asked. She has no choice. But you have. You belong to the Holy Dragon family. Since mother is unwilling, I will not let you take her away. Brother Reese suddenly interrupted the words of the Holy Dragon Apostle, and replied with a serious expression. What did you say? The Apostle of the Holy Dragon, Mignano, kept looking at his elder brother Reese with dangerous gazes. He thought that he had heard wrongly, and that his nephew, whom he had never met, dared to disobey him. Hey, what happened? Among the other apostles of the Dragon King who were watching, a nervous guy made a sound, but the other apostles signaled him to shut up. Since they were not targeted, the other apostles also felt that the surrounding atmosphere suddenly became heavy. They stared at this scene as if they were watching a good show. Because this is the family matter of the Holy Dragon species, it is not easy for other giant dragons to intervene. I said you can't take Takana by force, because she is my mother. Brother Reese repeated this sentence again. He hates this atmosphere very much. Why does the trouble have to be directed at himself? Even if what he said has no weight, Brother Reese can't just sit idly by. But he knew very well in his heart that his words might anger the Holy Dragon Apostle in front of him. As a result, Brother Reese's cells began to activate rapidly, and when necessary, emergency backup radiation energy would be activated to allow the body to enter a state of super regeneration. What if I must take her away? Holy Dragon Apostle Mignano shouted instantly. His voice was full of hostility. His pale silver pupils stared closely at Brother Reese. I said no. Brother Reese didn't stop. He took another step forward and continued talking. The atmosphere instantly became tense. On the shining white scales of the Holy Dragon Mignon, a terrifying red thunder also jumped up, and 10 waves of unparalleled coercion were about to be released. Roar! However, the other apostles of the Dragon King couldn't bear it first, and let out a huge roar, and the invisible shock wave rippled and spread towards the surroundings. The nearest Holy Dragon, Migno, did not expect that the Mad Dragon Apostle Boggold suddenly launched an indiscriminate all-round attack, and before he had time to set up his mental protection, his head was shocked and he was absent-minded for several seconds. The other apostles of the Dragon King also fell into a brief tremor, but soon came back to their senses and glared at Boggold, but the other party was the first to yell. Didn't you hear him say no? Unexpectedly, the Mad Dragon Baggard actually stood in front of the Holy Dragon Apostle, showing the ferocious eyes of the Dragon clan hunting. Mignano, are you robbing my prey? Baggard Austin Carl. When everyone was shocked as to what Baggard was trying to do, Migno showed an angry look. Are you going to fight me? Are you talking to a giant dragon that was born only for fighting? Mignano, if you want to fight, do it directly. We mad dragons never talk. The arrogant Baggard spread his huge wings and entered the full fighting state. At this time, it has completely switched from the previous style, and entered a more terrifying wild hunting mode. The apostles who were familiar with the wild dragon species all took a step back, realizing that Boggold was serious, as if he was protecting like food. It shows the most primitive ambition of the dragon clan, showing its domineering side. All right. Holy Dragon Apostle Mignano stared at Baggard closely, and then let go of his clenched fist. He restrained his hostility. I won't be as knowledgeable as a crazy guy like you, but you have to remember, you are protecting members of our Holy Dragon clan. I will truthfully report this matter to my grandfather. If the Holy Dragon King came in person, I would personally kowtow to apologize. But you, Mignano, wait until you can beat me, and then you can give me a good lecture. When Bogold's huge wings retracted behind his back, the Holy Dragon Apostle let out a cold snort that trembled in the air, and then disappeared into the sky with a wave of the dragon wings. I really didn't expect that Bogold would not even give face to the Holy Dragon Apostle. I've heard for a long time that the Crazy Dragon clan are all barbaric lunatics. Ha, let's go, it's going to be a headache to have a relationship with this kind of guy. Really, have physics dragons always been this tyrannical? He strikes really fast. The other apostles of the Dragon King saw that there was no more excitement, and the apostle of the Mad Dragon just announced that his brother Reese was his prey, which meant that the other apostles couldn't snatch it in front of him, so they had to leave unhappy. Forehead. After the Dragon King's apostles disappeared, Reese stretched out his paws and stopped for a while, looking at the surrounding scene a little at a loss, with a sense of bewilderment in his eyes. He just woke up from the dizzy state, and there was a faint sound in his ear. I only saw Baggard standing in front of me, defeating the aura of the Holy Dragon Apostle, and then I didn't have much impression. I think you'd better calm down, Brother Reese. The Mad Dragon Baggard turned his head, looked at his brother Reese, and said in a low voice, "It is very dangerous to provoke an apostle of the Dragon King, even if that guy is your relative, but in the concept of the Dragon Clan, they are not. I will be merciful." The Wind Dragon Apostle at the side immediately rolled her eyes when she heard this. She felt that it was Baggard who should calm down the most. Although the Holy Dragon Apostle exuded momentum just now, he had no intention of making a move. "Well, aren't you angry?" Brother Reese pointed to himself, as if to say that his action against Bogold was zero. "Oh, this." Baggard thought for a while, then suddenly smiled and said, "You can make my cowardly, timid grandson who is afraid of fighting look so adoring, and I know you are not ordinary. Don't worry. Our crazy dragon species is such a creature, either on the way to fight, or died on the battlefield. There is no time to hate other dragons." "Is that so? You are Dilba's grandfather, how is he now?" Brother Reese was shocked in his heart, thinking that it really was so. "I don't know what you gave him. That guy's development is very advanced. He is several times bigger than other dragonlings, and now he has a violent temper, quite like when I was young, so he is very good very." Baggard stared at his brother Reese with weird eyes, as if he wanted to study this guy to understand what kind of strange power made his grandson also mutate. "No, it's all right." Brother Reese quickly shut up, no longer mentioning the matter of evolution. He asked back, "That's right. My mother. She should be fine. Don't worry, as long as I'm still here, Segueno won't dare to do anything with that guy." Baggard said confidently, "I think he was a little guy when I was in power. And the Holy Dragon King is much more enlightened than you imagined, and he won't offend you because of this kind of thing. What's more, you are his great-grandson, and his talent is so outstanding. If he knows that Mignon is targeting you, the Holy Dragon King will probably be very angry." "Thank you very much for your help, old man." Brother Reese thanked politely. But he also began to yearn for power more and more in his heart. If he was given another few decades, no, more than 10 years of evolution time, even the Dragon King's apostle would be. Having said that, are you planning to go to the Dragon Arena? Bogold pondered for a moment and asked. "Can I go? Your strength has already surpassed most young dragons, it doesn't matter if you go or not. Do you have any plans for the future? How about it? Do you want to go outside with me to see the world?" Thinking of this, Baggard said earnestly. His purpose is self-evident, and he hopes that his brother Reese will become an effective subordinate of the Golden Dragon King. "Senior Bogold, I said that I want to become an existence beyond the Dragon King. Don't talk too much, you don't even have the ability to resist in front of the Dragon King's apostle, let alone you have to go through the challenge of the 8 extreme dragons if you want to become the Dragon King. Besides, those 8 guys who are second only to the Dragon King have been staring at you all the time. As for the throne of the Dragon King, they are the real lunatics, because they have not joined any forces, so they are unscrupulous. No matter what your identity is, they will kill you. Moreover, among the 8 extreme dragons, there are powerful evil dragons such as evil dragons and plague dragons. Some of them have cultivated many families, and even collude with hell demons and the undead Bone King. Wind Dragon Messenger Vitalia also added, although I really want to invite you, Brother Reese, to join us, but it's a pity that you are not a magic dragon. Well, are the 8 great dragons so powerful? Brother Reese nodded, thinking that if he met 8 extreme dragons outside in the future, it would be better not to provoke them lightly. If the Dragon King is compared to a warlord, then Jilong is a bare bones commander or a leader of a gangster or bandit. They go their own way, disregard the rules, despise everything, and their national power is wantonly transforming various places in the world. However, the extreme dragons still understand one thing, that is, they can be destroyed, but not too much, otherwise if they arouse public anger, they will be killed, even if they escape by chance. It will also be hostile to other powerful forces. By the way, Senior Vitalia, I have a phantom dragon hatchling that I grew up with. Her talent is also very good. If possible, you can go and take care of her. Her name is Siluf. Phantom dragon species. That's really a rare real dragon species, Shaloof, yes, I remember the name. Vitalia, the envoy of the Wind Dragon, was delighted. Since it was the young dragon recommended by Brother Reese, it must be very talented. Finally, Senior Boggold, I agree. Brother Reese thought about it, then raised his head, and replied to the Mad Dragon Apostle, I decided to go to the kingdom of the Golden Dragon King to find out and see if it's what I thought. Although I probably won't join your forces, but I will remember this kindness. Okay, since that's the case, let's go now. Wait, Baggard, you are crazy. The dragon battle has just begun. Have you forgotten the purpose of your coming? Anyway, you have to choose a few little guys with potential. Quote. Oh yes, I almost forgot, then wait a little longer. So, do I still need to participate in the battle? It's still not necessary. Wind Dragon Messenger Vitalia hurriedly refused, and directly kicked Reese out of the entry list. Judging from the strength you have shown, you can be escorted to the Dragon King. However, you can pass watching the battle and examining the fighting styles of other young dragons may be helpful to you. Okay, let's get healthy. You dragons of the new generation, it's time to test your strength. Next, get ready to meet your challenge. The Apostle of the Dragon King roared loudly. Boom. The ground trembled violently, the entire basin began to shatter, and a huge wall of soil clods rose up, which surprised Reese, who was watching this scene. Is this kind of scene created by the dragon language magic of the earth? Brother Reese guessed so. It has to be said that Magic Dragon is handy in every sense of the word, and it's pretty darn good, too. The first one, Long Suo, 73 years old, is from the Black Dragon family. He was ranked 11th among the young dragons before, and his next opponent is. The second place is Wen Shani, 78 years old, from the Water Dragon family. As a sometimes gentle and sometimes violent water flow, the beautiful girl Water Dragon is a master at manipulating water elements, and she was ranked 9th among young dragons before. It turns out that Winzani is really a girly age, Brother Reese thought to himself. But compared to myself, calling her big sister is not an exaggeration. Then, the third place. Fourth place. One by one, the dragon players who were about to participate in the battle were introduced, and a dragon instructor who finally presided over the competition shouted excitedly, the 17th place, Alia, from the Metal Dragon family, is 68 years old. Her previous ranking among the young dragons was, Article 2. Boom. Brother Reese felt a sudden explosion around him, and our cheers sounded like a landslide and tsunami in a large area around him. Alia, Sister Alia, Uncle wants to have a baby with you. Alia, 200 years older is not too old, it's just a brother-sister relationship. The cheers of the young dragons were like thunder, and they seemed to like the beautiful, powerful, and heroic young dragon. Feeling the enthusiasm of these audiences, Brother Reese slowly stood up and did not continue to watch. Instead of competing, they rushed outside with something on their minds. He wanted to check the situation of his mother Takana, and where was that useless father Leonard? Brother Reese left the dragon arena. He was standing outside the empty canyon. At this time, the giant dragons were all gathered in the arena, and the outside looked extraordinarily cold. But how to find it next? Brother Reese closed his eyes, and the light flashed on the dorsal fin. He used the dragon horns with radar senses and began to emit some kind of electromagnetic waves to the outside world. Feedback back. At the same time, turn on thermal radiation vision to search for all creatures with life characteristics. Then open the Eye of Demon Breaker to see through all illusions and all magical obstacles. In response to the feedback from the sensory dragon horn, Brother Reese began to search around the Dragon Island, and then spread towards other arenas, trying to find it in the field that the Holy Dragon Apostle was in charge of. However, during the search, other dragons seemed to have sensed Reese's search fluctuations and responded curiously. What are you looking for? It is very impolite to use perception to detect other dragons. There was a voice that came to Reese, attention directly in his head, it was telepathic. Who? Brother Reese looked around and didn't find the owner of the voice, and immediately realized that the other party might be in a distant area. After sensing his own detection, he gave a feedback. Impolite little guy, shouldn't you introduce yourself first? Although it is telepathy, it can clearly sense the other party's displeasure. Little guy, sorry, I don't know which senior you are, my name is Brother Reese. Brother Reese responded. Brother Reese, oh, you are the special young dragon who challenged Baggard and angered Mignano, come on, let me see what you look like. Well, it came from the wave in the feedback, there is a very big guy with a very long tail, but the wings are surprisingly small. Small, I am not small, Brother Reese responded indignantly, and then said, although I really want to continue chatting with you, but I am looking for long, sorry to disturb you. Who are you looking for? The voice over there paused for a few seconds, then asked. A female holy dragon named Takana, and a male holy dragon named Leonard. Brother Reese thought for a while and said, let me look for it for you. Well, I found it. That male dragon was at the extreme edge of the south coast of Jesseland. It was lying unconscious in a cave on the beach, and there were signs of electric shock on its body, but its breath was still stable, it couldn't die, it just couldn't get up temporarily. So fast. The opponent's perception can actually cover the entire Dragon Island. Brother Reese was shocked, and then said coldly, it must have been done by Mignano, but what about the other female dragon? Well, it seems that Migno has done too much to your parents. But don't worry, your mother Takana was not harmed, but she was imprisoned on the top cloud peak of Dragon Island. Judging by your appearance, it is estimated that she will not be able to go there. The voice was full of regret, and Reese's heart tightened when he heard it. Sky, Mignano did a great job. That happens to be an area I can't touch. Brother Reese gritted his teeth, and then decided to wake up Leonard and let him help solve the problem. Need my help? No, thank you. Brother Reese refused decisively, he knew that there is no free lunch in the world. I'm really vigilant, but with the power of your father Leonard alone, it is impossible to destroy the Red Thunder prison. Of course, you can also ask Bagel to help, but you don't want him to clean it up again, do you? Quote. Senior really likes to joke, but who are you, the Apostle, and what do you think of me? Brother Reese was silent for a moment, and couldn't help asking. Have you been seen through? No one dares to call the Apostle's name directly, you must be the Apostle. Brother Reese said affirmatively. Didn't you call out too? The other party's voice was full of teasing meaning, but there was no malice. Can you tell me your name? I am Bilia, the Apostle of the Fairy Dragon King. However, you may not remember me just by hearing it. Seeing is believing. After the other party finished speaking, there was a sense of wanting to come and look for Brother Reese. Are you coming over? Yeah, the competition among young dragons is too boring, but there is a little guy named Silaf, who is quite interesting. After the words fell, Brother Reese suddenly sensed dense magic power fluctuations in the space in front of him. In the next second, an oval blue-purple portal suddenly appeared in the space. Then, Brother Reese seemed to see the angel in the dragon. That elegant figure makes one wonder if it is a giant dragon born in the secular world. Her body length is only 25 meters, and her wingspan is about 40 meters. Her huge wings are covered with dazzling patterns. Extremely beautiful, like gems, magnificent and bright. The identity of the other party is also clear at a glance. Special high-ranking dragon family, Fairy Dragon Apostle, Billy. Different from Nightmare, Fairy dragon is the only creature in this world that has the ability to freely travel between dreams and reality, while Nightmare can only stay in dreams and illusory reality without entity. Her neck and snout are slender, her limbs and claws are short, but she has a long curly tail that looks like a chameleon's tail. Fairy dragon is covered with dense 7-color tiny scales, which reflect a kaleidoscope of light under the sunlight. Its wings are huge, and a pair of giant wings split into 4 petals. The streamlined body and slender body outline a beautiful the curve of the tail that swings from time to time spills a little bit of scale. It's beautiful. Brother Reese was staring intently at Mylong in front of him. Giant dragons can distinguish the beauty and ugliness of most races, and the one in front of them is also a very beautiful type among humans. Thank you for the compliment. If it weren't for being old enough to be your grandma, I might be interested in a strong young dragon like you. The goblin dragon Billy seemed to be stretching, wiped away her drowsiness, and flew close to her brother Reese with a soft, beautiful, elegant, and coquettish posture. She is like a beautiful fairy, or a witch. The scales on her body fluctuate regularly with her breathing, and the sunlight makes every inch of the dazzling scales on her body quite smooth and beautiful, very charming. That posture is probably the peerless beauty among dragons. Brother Reese originally wanted to say that age is not a problem, but considering that the matter is important now, he became serious. Then, Senior Billy, what is the price? What price? Oh, the reward for saving the dragon. I think about it. If you can, give me a scale from your body and a drop of dragon blood. I want to take it back to do research, say maybe some novel substances can be extracted, and His Royal Highness the Fairy Dragon King will definitely be very excited. Maybe some powerful plant dragon beasts can be produced. You really don't hide your purpose at all. Brother Reese became increasingly vigilant. Don't worry, our fairy dragon is a giant dragon that loves nature, and is also a good friend of the forest. It has a close relationship with the fairy clan. Even if we fuse plant cells to breed new monsters, it is only to strengthen the guard of the forest. Used as a war top. Senior Billy, the more you talk about it, the more scared I become. Brother Reese stepped back. Woohoo, don't be afraid, it's just a little bit of blood. The fairy dragon pounced on with ill intentions. A sharp thorn flashed out from the tip of her tail like a wasp, and then directly pierced Brother Reese's waist through the gap between his scales, giving him a kidney shot. It hurts. Brother Reese let out a cry of pain, then backed away abruptly to gain distance. Visible to the naked eye, a mass of viscous matter that looked like a luminous liquid was transported upwards along the fairy dragon's tail, and gradually sank into her belly. There was some faint light emitting, and then it dimmed and disappeared. Oh, it's amazing energy. Also, what kind of eyes do you have? Isn't it common sense that fairy dragons can absorb the life energy of the enemy through their tails? We are different from subspecies like vampire dragons, they are the real monsters dragon breed. Billy A seemed very dissatisfied with Reese's cautious gaze, and after getting what she wanted, she patted her stomach in satisfaction. Didn't it just be a drop? That's obviously a big ball. Okay, don't talk about this, I will save your mother. Billy A quickly changed the topic, and then a burst of magic flashed, her figure disappeared in the portal, and on the other side of the sky, a portal appeared, and the fairy dragon's figure disappeared. About 10 seconds later, a comatose white female dragon appeared in front of Brother Reese, as if it had been transferred down. And Billy's telepathic voice also sounded in Brother Reese's mind. Then let's meet next time. Oh yes, if you want to see me again, come to the Lost Forest in the Orc continent, say. Maybe there will be elves who will take a fancy to you and sign a magic contract with you. I always feel that I was cheated. Brother Reese sighed. Then he looked down at the beautiful Mrs. Bailong lying on the ground. Sorry, Leonard. Brother Reese decided to leave him alone and take care of Takana instead. Under the darkness of night, everything is silent. The giant dragon arena is still fighting fiercely. For the giant dragons, they don't have to sleep every day, but only rest when they are exhausted. Under normal circumstances, the dragon cannot sleep for a month or more, but if it rests, some may sleep for many years. Fortunately, Takana will not be in a coma for too long. Next to an ancient giant tree, Brother Reese sat in front of the lake near the dragon's lair, with his back against the big tree, but the giant tree couldn't support his weight, so he couldn't fully rely on it. Depend on. The surface of the lake looks hazy under the soft moonlight, reflecting a little light, and the sky seems to be covered with a layer of veil. The night light is charming, as if time stands still here. Migno, you, woohoo. And at this time, Takana, who had always been in a coma, opened her eyes in a daze, and whispered. "Huh, who is it?" Takana blinked suddenly, her pupils returned to their original brilliance, and instinctively took a deep breath. So she saw it. Appearing in front of her, holding her was a dark and ferocious terrifying existence. The true face of monster is a terrifying creature tens of meters high with a long tail. Just looking at it for the first time, I feel extremely frightened and fearful. The pitch-black intertwined scales are woven together, the dark red blood flows like magma, and the big dorsal fin of the eyes tearing the sky like a mountain peak. And the terrifying red light flashing on his body, exuding oppressive beast-like dragon pupils. "You're awake." The pitch-black faucet lowered slightly, its voice was muffled like thunder, and its eyes reflected the cold light of choosing someone to bite. "Ah, whoop, help," Takana screamed in terror. She struggled violently with both arms and forelimbs, trying to escape from this monster, but found that the opponent's strength was far greater than her own. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't break free from the tens of thousands of monsters. The body of a ton-weight monster cannot move at all. "Mother, it's me." "No, don't. Who is your mother? I'm still young. How can I have such a huge..." This breath, could it be said that it is Brother Reese? After struggling for a while, Takana suddenly thought of a possibility, and looked up at the monster. "Mother, don't you even know me?" Brother Reese lowered his head a little disappointed. I did it on purpose. Who knew you had grown up so much?" Suddenly I was shocked. Takana jumped off her Brother Reese in some confusion, and then looked up at this monster that was nearly twice her size. She was instantly shocked. "Anyway, Mother, Mignano will not force you to leave, I have told him." Brother Reese, study meaning. Takana was stunned for a while, and then tears flashed in the dragon's eyes, and she hugged the monster's head vigorously, saying, "Silly boy, that's not the case at all. But it doesn't matter anymore, in your case. I won't leave until I grow up with your sister." "Mother, actually Brother Reese subconsciously said, "I plan to go out independently." Takana suddenly raised her head and looked at her Brother Reese seriously. Her shocked eyes made her Brother Reese at a loss for a while. "After the Dragon King's apostle finishes the test, I will go to the Golden Kingdom with the Mad Dragon Bagel." "Yes, is it?" Although the mother knew that there would be such a day, but she didn't expect her son to grow up so fast. "I am really sad. Don't you think I'm a monster?" How is it possible? There is no parent who doesn't love their children, let alone your father, and I are proud of you. But you were still calling for help just now. That can't be helped. Who made me see a huge monster's head when I opened my eyes, and looked at me so fiercely, thinking that I was going to be eaten? Look, you still despise me. Shut up, you are not allowed to doubt the mother's deep love for her child. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.